Good morning, Peter. Councillor Bowman checking in.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. You're coming through loud and clear.
Morning, Peters. Councillor Dillon just checking in.
Good morning, Councillor Dillon. You're coming through loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jamie Lynn. It's Peter Fay from the City Clerk's Office. Welcome to today's Committee of Council meeting. We're just going to test your audio before the meeting starts, so we've just unmuted you. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Great. You're coming through loud and clear. We're just going to get started momentarily, so I don't have time to bring you in as a panelist to check your video, but when we do get to your portion, your delegation, we've already checked in with Steve as well, who's on the line. We'll move you over as a panelist, and then you'll be able to unmute your mic on your own and turn on your video should you choose to do so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll have the slides up, and you can just, whoever's presenting can just say next slide, please, and we'll advance the slides.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, good morning. It's Peter. Just before we get started, I'm just going to confirm the members I do see in the WebEx session. I see Councillor Visante, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor yourself, Chair Singh, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Willens, and that is it at the moment. So I'm going to suggest we just wait a moment for a few other members to join. Councillor Fortini has just joined.
Yeah, I was going to suggest we'll wait 2 minutes. Some internet issues. I'm going to get off my Wi-Fi and wire my laptop.
Okay.
Wire my laptop.
Thank you.
Peter, am I coming in okay? Councillor Willens.
Good morning, Councillor Willens. Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. I do know that there is a flag raising for Christian Heritage Month, so I think Councillor Bowman and Councillor Medeiros may be out there.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I did see that in the calendar this morning.
Well,
Yeah.
Doug, this is Councilor Medeiros. As much as I'm a good Christian, no, I'm over here ready for my meeting.
And we're back. All of the councillors are back from the Christian Heritage Month flag raising. So.
All right, Peter, are you good to get started?
Yes, Mr. Chair. All members of committee appear to be present.
Okay, wonderful. We'll call to order. Good morning and welcome to our virtual meeting of Brampton's Committee of Council. We will begin the meeting with the City Clerk calling the roll for attendance at today's meeting. Thank you.
Members of committee, I will call your name. Please indicate your presence. Councillor Santos.
Present.
Councillor Visante.
Present.
Councillor Willens.
Present.
Councillor Paleshi.
Good morning, President.
Councillor Bowman.
Present.
Councillor Medeiros.
Present.
Councillor Williams.
Present.
Councillor Fortini.
Good morning, I'm here.
Councillor Dillon.
Present.
Thank you. And Chair Singh is present. All 10 members are present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, approval of the agenda. Does any member wish to add a business item to today's meeting? If so, please use the chat function to add your name to the speakers list. I see Councillor Williams.
Hi, yes, I would like to add an announcement to the announcement section.
Sorry, regarding what?
Regarding Winter Lights program.
Winter Lights, okay. Thank you. I see Councillor Santos.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, because Mayor Brown is still in the press conference, he's asked to add to the agenda an item related to Justice Minister's bill regarding conversion therapy.
Okay. Can we have an addition regarding conversion of therapy? Councillor Dillon?
I'd like to add, just give me one sec, where'd it go? Sorry. Provincial Bill 29 regarding cannabis.
Okay, we have a Provincial Bill 29 regarding cannabis, request for discussion. I don't see any other members, so I will add one item as well regarding development charges and this is a continuation of something we discussed at council.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Just another update from the clerk's office. Delegation 6.2 on this morning's agenda is in regards to development of a Center for Excellence for Youth Diamond Sports in Brampton. A member of that contingent of that delegation is unavailable to attend due to an emergency, so the delegation has requested that that item be deferred to the January 19th Committee of Council meeting.
okay, no problem. Deferral of 6.2 to January 19th.
Do you wish me to review the proposed added items and where they'll be slotted in the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay. First is Councillor Williams proposing to add announcement 5.1 regarding winter lights. Next is Councillor Dillon proposing to add a discussion item regarding Bill 29 regarding cannabis. That would be under the Legislative Services section as a new business as 11.3.1. Then we have Councillor Santos adding an item that would be identified as 8.3.2 under Corporate Services section, a discussion item regarding advocacy to support a ban on conversion therapy. And then Chair Singh is adding an item regarding the Development Charges Act that would be listed as item 8.3.3 under Corporate Services section. And aside from the deferral of the 6.2 delegation, that's it for the agenda updates.
I have one more. I apologize through you, Mr. Chair. Oh,
Mr. Chair?
Yep. I think we put discussion at the, that was discussion, that wasn't requested by Councillor Singh, just the conversion therapy. That was Councillor Santos.
yeah, on behalf of Mayor Brown, but I have one more. I forgot one more item.
Sure, no
This discussion item under other business and community services, I apologize, regarding renaming of an asset for former Councillor Paul Paleschi.
So through you, Mr. Chair, that would be proposed item 10.3.1 under Community Services section.
Sorry, Peter, can I just confirm the discussion with Councillor Dillon, Provincial Bill, is that under Legislative Services?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I was suggesting it there because I suspect there are municipal implications of that proposed bill. It's speaking to a municipal role in the cannabis legislation as it relates to retail locations.
Okay, so would that be item 11.3.2?
Yes,
Yeah.
I probably misstated and said 11.3.1, but you're correct.
No, just checking, thanks.
I was going to point that out too. Thank you, Councillor Bowman. I think we are, so we have 5.1, 8.3.2.
Sorry, Chair Singh, this is Councillor
Yeah.
Darrells. I'm on the board to speak.
Okay, sorry, I didn't, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'd just like to remove discussion item regarding creative spaces. I got an update from staff, so I'm satisfied with the update.
Excellent. And which item was that again, if you don't mind?
That's on creative spaces. That would
Okay,
be...
8.3.1, yeah,
Yeah.
I see it.
Thank you.
Removed. Okay, thank you, Councillor Medeiros. I see Councillor Paleschi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to not only thank staff for the work that they did on the procurement process at the city, but I'd also like to refer it to council next week. Sorry, I don't have an item number.
Sure, we'll find it, no problem.
Mr. Chair, that is item 8.2.2 under Corporate Services section, a report on procurement processes at the city.
Okay, 8.2, okay. Just so I'm clear, referral to council next week, correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Peter, if you don't mind, could you just repeat everything, because there's a lot of stuff added, and then we'll vote on it.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, in no particular order.
Yeah.
Councillor Williams has added an announcement 5.1 regarding winter lights. Councillor Dillon has added a discussion item under Legislative Services 11.3.2 regarding Bill 29, cannabis. Councillor Santos has added an item to Community Services section, the discussion item identified as 10.3.1 regarding naming an asset after former Regional Councillor Paul Paleschi. Councillor Santos, on behalf of Mayor Brown, has also added a discussion item under Corporate Services section as item 8.3.2 regarding advocacy to support the ban on conversion therapy. Chair Singh has added an item also under Corporate Services section as item 8.3.3 regarding Development Charges Act. And then finally, Councillor Paleschi has requested that item 8.2.2 on procurement processes be referred to Council on December 8th. And Councillor Medeiros has requested that 8.3.1 discussion item on creative spaces be removed. And the clerk's office has advised that Delegation 6.2 be deferred to the January 19th committee meeting.
Okay, and checking my calendar. Okay, we're good. Seeing no, Councillor Dillon has a question before we vote on it.
Yeah, sorry. 11.3.1. I'm seeing there's something already there for 11.3.1. Would this not be 11.3.2?
That's correct. It was my mistake, Councillor Dillon, when I initially identified as your item as 11.3.1. It will be identified as 11.3.2.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We have a motion moved by Councillor Dillon to approve the agenda instead of seeking a recorded vote for this item. I will ask, is there anyone opposed to this motion? Otherwise, your vote will count in the affirmative. Is anyone opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Moving on, do any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for any matter to be considered on today's agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will so note for the meeting minutes. Committee, as part of our new consent motion process, I will read each agenda item that is subject to the consent motion, and any member may verbally identify the item to be held for debate during the meeting. Any item not held for debate will be considered as part of the consent motion and voted on for approval. Any of the following agenda items will not be subject to the consent motion for approval: announcements, delegations, presentations, added new business, member discussion items, member question period, public question period. I'll start reading the relevant agenda items, and members can identify any item to be held for debate. 8.2.1, staff report regarding a request to begin procurement Microsoft agreements for enterprise products, cloud services, and support services for a 3-year period. Okay, consent. 8.2.2 is a staff report regarding procurement processes for the city. That's the one that was referred to council, actually, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay, so that has been referred to council next week. 8.2.3, staff report regarding corporate event listings. Okay, consent. 8.2.4, staff report regarding important and commemorative dates 2022. Consent.
Sorry, Councillor Singh, can I just hold that? I just got one question about it.
Absolutely, no problem. Held by Councillor Bowman. 8.2.5, staff report regarding 2021 National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Okay, consent. 9.2.1, staff report regarding initiation of subdivision assumptions, Mark V. Home Corp. Registered Plan 43M-1958, north of Countryside Drive, west of the Gore Road, Ward 10 Planning Reference C09E17.008 and T1T-12009B. Anybody want to hold that? Okay, goes into consent. Staff report 9.2.2 regarding initiation of subdivision assumption, Fulton Bridges Estates Inc., Registered Plan 43M-1959, north of Countryside, west of the Gore Road. Anybody want to hold it? Seeing and hearing none, that goes into consent. 9.2.3, staff report regarding traffic bylaw 93-93 administrative update. Hearing and seeing none, consent. 12.1 staff report regarding FDI 2021 year-end review and 2022 strategy. 8, consent. 15.1, open session meeting exception under section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act 2001. A proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality and a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Consent.
Through the chair,
Yep.
I meant to hold the FDI report. This is Councillor Williams.
That's absolutely okay. 12.2.1 will be held by Councillor Williams. 15.1 from closed. I don't see anybody asking for it to.
Yeah, I'll hold it. I think there's a decision we have to make on that one, so I'll hold that.
Okay. 15.1 is held. 15.2, open meeting exception under section 239-2K of the Municipal Act 2001, a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Consent. 15.3, open meeting exception under section 2392 FI and K of the Municipal Act 2001. Advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, including communication necessary for the purpose and a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, and a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality.
Hold, please.
Hold. Okay, that's Councillor Bowman. The clerk will summarize those items to be included on the consent motion for approval.
So, Mr. Chair and members of committee, the following items are going to be approved as part of the consent motion. 8.2.1, a staff report to begin procurement regarding Microsoft agreements for enterprise products and other services. 8.2.3, a staff report on corporate events listing for 2022. 8.2.5, a staff report regarding 2021 National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. 9.2.1, a staff report regarding initiation of a subdivision in Ward 10. 9.2.2, a staff report regarding initiation of a subdivision again in Ward 10. Item 9.2.3, a staff report regarding a traffic bylaw 9393 administrative update. And 15.2, an open meeting exception under section 239-2K of the Municipal Act regarding a negotiation matter. The following items are held for debate. Item 8.2.4 from Councillor Bowman regarding important and commemorative dates in 2022. Item 12.2.1, a staff report held by Councillor Williams regarding FDI 2021 year-end review and 2022 strategy. And in closed session, 15.1, an open session meeting exception under section 239-2C and K of the Municipal Act held by Councillor Bowman regarding a potential or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality and a negotiation matter. And then finally, item 15.3 held by Councillor Bowman, an open meeting exception under section 239-2F, I, and K of the Municipal Act, a matter that's subject to solicitor-client privilege, a matter that for which there is information supplied in confidence to the municipality, and a negotiation matter.
Thank you. As per our trial process agreed to by council, the consent motion will be subject to a recorded vote. I pass it on to you, clerk.
All in favor of the consent motion, please indicate. Councillor Santos? I'll come back to Councillor Santos. Councillor Vicente?
Yes.
Councillor Willens?
Yes.
Councillor Paleshi?
Yes.
Councillor Bowman?
Yes.
Councillor Medeiros?
Yes.
Councillor Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Fortini?
Yes.
Councillor Dillon?
Yes.
Councillor Santos?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Singh?
Yes.
That consent motion carries unanimously 10-0.
Thank you. Moving on to announcements. We have an announcement at the request of Councillor Williams, 5.1, regarding Winter Lights program. Councillor Williams, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. This is an announcement. you know, we've been seeing people be getting to the festive spirit and putting up their Christmas lights and lighting their homes. Back in 2008, we had a program that was running through the Communities in Bloom program, where a number of rec centers and places were competing for awards and recognitions. But, you know, we want to see it come back because people are really getting into the spirits. We want to encourage people to light up their homes for the season. So we are bringing back a form of the program, and it's going to be called Merry and Bright Brampton Holiday Lights Showcase. And we want to encourage people to put their lights up, send in photos on social media using the hashtag Merry Bright Brampton between December 3rd and December 17th. And between December 20th and 24th, the City of Brampton social media channels will be showcasing our city lights. And there is a plan we're working on to encourage people to see where these lights are, because some people go all out, and it's really awesome to see. And so it's not Winter Lights program. I just want to make sure that's clear because I know I added it to the agenda under that name, but it is called Merry and Bright Brampton Holiday Lights Showcase. So this is just an announcement to encourage our residents to put up their lights, take a picture with the hashtag, and more information will be on our website, and more information will be sent out to all of us so that we can encourage our residents to do it too. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the announcement. To the clerk, I don't need a motion to receive the announcement, correct? I could just go to the delegations?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next item is 6.1, a delegation from Todd, Kahl, Executive Director, and John Simone, Director of Business Management and Operations, Brampton Library, regarding Brampton Library Draft Facilities Master Plan. Joining us today is Todd, Kahl, Executive Director, and John Simone, Director of Business Management and Operations, Brampton Library. Welcome, Todd and John, and please, you have 5 minutes, so please try to stay within the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of council. Yes, I am here to present the library's draft facilities master plan, which has been approved by the library board for your consideration and endorsement. I am joined by 2 people from Monteith Brown Planning Consultants that helped us develop the plan. So Todd Brown, President and Principal Planner, and Anna Desai, Associate Planner. The plan, of course, is following on our previous 10-year facilities master plan, under which we developed the Gore Meadows, Mount Pleasant Village, and Springdale branches. Next slide, please. The vision of the plan was developed in consultation with the community and is consistent with the library's mission and vision overall. The vision, as it says here, is world-class libraries at our doorstep. Next slide, please. The project is in line with the recommendations from the service delivery review conducted by Ernst & Young. It included extensive public consultation, and it is the result of an assessment of the library's gaps and areas for growth in terms of space and number of service points. Next slide, please. Most importantly, the plan is aligned with other key library and city guiding documents, in particular, the Brampton 2040 vision. Next slide, please. As we were developing the plan, we came up with these 5 guiding principles. The facilities must be in alignment with city building. They must keep pace with population growth. They must support the neighborhoods and reflect the needs of the neighborhoods that they are in. They must provide a place for everybody, and they must be a place for incubation, innovation, and creativity. Next slide, please. Much attention is paid in the plan to how to embed libraries in the future urban structure of Brampton, in particular the new town centers, including the Uptown Community Hub and the revitalized downtown. Of course, this is all crucial to provide services to the 150,000 or so population that have been added in the last 10 years and the 150,000 or so that will arrive in the next 10 years. For those residents, libraries play a critical role as social infrastructure, and in fact, many developers look to build their communities around civic buildings such as libraries, as they are fundamental to a successful community. Next slide, please. The plan envisions a branch provision model consisting of a central library, Larger branches referred to as district branches that serve a radius of approximately 3 kilometers and are a minimum of 30,000 square feet, and neighborhood branches, smaller ones that serve a radius of approximately 1.5 square kilometers and have a minimum size of 10,000 square feet. Next slide, please. Fundamental to our understanding of the library's needs is where it fits on a space per capita ranking with other major Canadian cities, which is that Brampton Library does rank last. So 10 out of the ones that you see in front of you here. Despite recent expansions, Brampton's strong population growth has made it very difficult to catch up on the per capita service levels. Next slide, please. So this chart shows the future space needs of the library based on an accepted standard of 0.6 square feet per capita. Currently, the library is at a deficit of over 200,000 square feet, which will rise to over 300,000 square feet if we do not keep pace and continue to expand. It's important to note as well that because we are so far behind, our DC funding is also behind because the inherent formula for development charges is based on the average historical service level. So if we do not increase our space now, we will also be in effect cheating ourselves out of future DC funding. Next slide, please. So this is really where we get to the most important part of the plan. This is a map showing the existing distribution of branches. The current map of 8 locations, we've presented it using the smaller service radius on those ones that we would classify under this plan in the neighborhood category. So this is the existing distribution. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed distribution. So I'll just go from west to east to outline the changes, which are in purple and in green. So the interim southwest location would be replaced by a district branch in the Embleton area. Keep in mind, all of the names of proposed branches on here are just placeholders, working titles. A district and a neighborhood branch are proposed for the Heritage Heights development to come in the northwest corner. The Four Corners Library would be replaced by a new central library, which, as we know, is the planning of which is already underway as part of the Centre for Innovation project. 3 neighborhood branches would be planned as part of the urban town centers, here referred to as Uptown, the CAA lands, and Queen and Rutherford. And finally, a neighborhood branch would be developed in East Brampton. Next slide, please. So this is the summary. The plan envisions 8 new branches, 2 of which would be replacing existing branches for a total of 14. The net new space added would be between 228 and 280,000 square feet, which would bring the per capita service level to within a hailing distance of the 0.6 square feet per capita that I mentioned. This would bring Brampton Library closer to being in line with its peers, while of course also complementing the innovative city building activities that are currently being planned. Next slide, please. The plan also envisions improvements to existing branches to address community needs and changing service demands and definitely accessibility. Next slide, please. And so that is the end of the presentation, and we're here to entertain any questions.
Thank you. I don't see any councillors that have any questions. So we will receive the delegation. But before that, I just have one quick question. We have, when I talk to, just talk about Ward Signing 10 in particular, we have the Gore Meadows Library and we have the Springdale Public Library. And instead of having another neighborhood library in that area, is there talks of expanding existing facilities? Is that part of the plan? Because I keep forget, because I live beside Springdale Library. I can tell you it's always packed. My actual issue is why it's made so small, but that's a different issue. So is that part of the plan too, renovating existing sites? Because as you know, the operational costs increase with an additional site, and you get cost savings when you increase existing sites.
So thank you very much for your question, Councillor. So the plan does look at some improvements to existing locations, not particularly expansions, although Gore Meadows, there's actually an expansion that will be underway shortly, involving just sort of a realignment of space. Space that used to be used for Parks and Recreation offices will be converted into a maker space and some additional study space for the library. So it will have some expansion on it. I think from the point of view of our process, the vision being world-class libraries at your doorstep, what we found was, given the geographic distribution of Brampton, it was more important to envision additional branches just because of the distance and the transportation distance and the accessibility for communities, especially in line, of course, with the vision, the Brampton 2040 vision of sort of the 20-minute walkable communities. So the emphasis is on more locations in order to be able to reach people who would not be able to, or would not be convenient for them to, to get themselves to a more distant location. So in the area you're talking about, of course, it's the East Brampton, which, there's the possibility that branch would be connected to a future either senior center, I think, or a potential recreation center on a former golf course land, if I'm not mistaken. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Chair?
Sorry, yeah, I was on mute. Sorry. That was part of my next question, actually. Making sure that if we are looking at new sites, we're integrating with school sites or community centers. I think that needs to be teased out a little bit more. I know it's different sort of cycles and everybody has their own timelines, whether it comes to the school board, and it's hard to get that match. But there is definitely a lot of potential and a lot of savings as well.
Through the chair, it's Richard, if I may.
Yeah.
We have Bob Yorkie on the line as well, who's our Director of City Planning. So maybe, Bob, you can speak to some of the pilot initiatives that we're doing to try to do exactly what you just said, Councillor, in terms of getting libraries and other facilities co-located.
Okay. Thank you. Bob?
Sure, absolutely. And I think, as Todd and the library board know, we've been working on the initiative at Uptown, the Uptown Urban Community Hub, with a second one that we're exploring for Queen Street. So as part of the development at Shoppers World with RioCan, we've incorporated a shared use facility, an urban community hub that we've done quite a bit of work in terms of moving that forward. And Council's had presentations on that and has endorsed moving forward. So part of that is to make sure that those services are in place for residents, as new residents move into the neighborhood, but also to enhance what's available, and to do it in a way that does, pull those different components together. And we've had a really productive working relationship with the library as well as the school boards and other stakeholders. So I think, as everyone appreciates, it's not always easy to align the timing, but I think in this case we've got a really good platform to work from, and we'll be coming forward with further updates to council throughout the year, and as we kind of move towards that further stage of actually bringing it into fruition over the next couple of years. I think it's a really key element to us, especially when we start looking at some of these opportunities in other areas to use that kind of a model to really provide a more flexible approach to how we're dealing with this, but really meet some of those outstanding needs that I think have been identified for other areas of the community.
Yeah, and that's promising. So, as we do look at density, obviously Rio Can site is a prime example. Integrating libraries into those facilities will also be something I think council will look forward to. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure it's on the radar of everybody, and thank you for coming to delegate. Obviously, the libraries are important. In the city of Brampton, they have a very critical role, and the Brampton Library has done a fantastic job, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on the board as well. Thank you so much, Todd, and I have a motion from Councillor Williams to receive the delegation. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Our next item is 6.3, a delegation from Gabrielle Fanis, VP Red Owl Boxing Club regarding youth boxing in Brampton. Welcome, Gabrielle. You have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, it's Peter. Gabrielle has not joined, but we do see a call-in user. We're just going to unmute that person and verify. Gabrielle, is that you on the telephone? It's Peter Fay from the clerk's office. Can I ask who it is that's called in by telephone?
I think Councillor Dillon might know something about this delegation. Councillor Dillon.
Who's going to speak to the delegation? I'm unaware of where the delegation go, unfortunately.
Should we hold it down then? We'll give it till the end of the delegations, maybe? Does that sound fair?
Sure.
Yeah. Is that okay, Peter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's perfectly fine.
Gabriel's not even in the meeting.
Sorry. Is Gabriel on? Hello?
Just
okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do not see Gabriel in the meeting unless Gabriel's in the meeting as somebody else, but we do not have Gabriel in the meeting.
That's okay. We'll get Councillor Dillon to connect with the delegate and make sure it's working. We'll move on to 6.4 in the meantime. And so delegation 6.4 is from Jamie, Steve, from MAD, Canadian Ontario Memorial for Victims of Impaired Driving. I pass on the floor to Jamie and Steve.
Jamie and Steve, you can unmute your mic and turn on your video if you wish, and you have up to 5 minutes to address the committee.
Hi, everyone. Just checking that you can hear me, if someone could confirm.
We can.
Okay, perfect. So good morning. On behalf of MAD Canada, our members and volunteers and the victims and survivors of impaired driving whom we support, we thank you for this opportunity to address the Committee of Council. Again, I'm Jamie Lynn Hancock. MAD Canada is a charitable organization with a mission to stop impaired driving and to support victims of this violent crime. Every hour in Canada, an average of 10 federal criminal charges and provincial short-term license suspensions are laid for alcohol or drug-impaired driving. Every year, hundreds of Canadians are killed and thousands are injured in impairment-related crashes. For every one of these victims, there are family, friends, and communities that are deeply and permanently affected. My family knows that impact all too well. On August 21st, 2014, my brother DJ had been at a tryout for a junior A hockey team, and not long after leaving the arena, he was hit head-on by an impaired driver. Our parents had been at the tryout, and they were on the road just a few minutes behind DJ. They came upon the crash scene and found my brother pinned in his car, and my brother died an hour later, still trapped in his car. Every day since, we've felt the grief and heartbreak of losing DJ in such a sudden and senseless way. MAD Canada and our dedicated volunteers work to end impaired driving so that other families never have to endure this devastation. At the heart of everything we do are victims and survivors of impaired driving. MAD Canada is the only national anti-impaired driving organization that provides direct support to victims and survivors. We support those going through the justice system, we host online support groups, we hold an annual conference for victims and survivors, and we provide important opportunities for people to memorialize their loved ones through monuments, candlelight vigils, and other memorials. And that is why I'm here today. MAD Canada has several provincial memorial monuments for victims of impaired driving across the country, including Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Our goal is to have a monument in every province and territory. A few years ago, we decided to find public space for our monuments that allow us to honor those we have lost and convey our message about the prevention of impaired driving to the public. You will appreciate how difficult it is to find a location accessible to all regions of a province the size of Ontario. Brampton is a community that knows the tragic consequences of impaired driving. It's a growing community, and it's easily accessible to other parts of the province. The opportunity to memorialize their loved ones is something that Ontario victims and survivors of impaired driving have been wanting for a long time. We hope to establish an Ontario monument in your community. We recognize that municipalities receive many requests for limited public space, but we truly hope you will see the value in this proposal. I had the honor of attending the unveiling of our new Alberta Memorial Monument for victims of impaired driving this September. 200 people attended the outdoor event and another 100 watched it online. I wish I could convey just how meaningful it was for families to see the names of their loved ones memorialized in this beautiful and lasting way. Every single family who attended that event waited in line for their chance to touch their loved ones' names on the monument. I am speaking to you as the national president of MAD Canada, but this is also deeply personal for me. My family and I would be incredibly honored to see DJ's name on an Ontario Memorial Monument. And that's a feeling that's shared by so many other victims. I know some of them are watching this meeting right now. Dave and Shauna Andrews are watching. Their son Cody was killed in London in 2016. When we told Shauna about today's meeting, she sent this message. We would be so honored to have Cody's name on the MAD Canada Ontario Monument. To have him remembered means so much to us and assures us that his memory continues to live on. Thank you to Brampton for considering. As this community knows, Jennifer Neville Lake lost her 3 children, Daniel, Harry, and Millie, and her father Gary in 2015. She told us, as a resident of Brampton, having a memorial that references my love's names in their hometown as an everlasting reminder of the reason why their lives were cut short shows me that even as time has passed, my loves are remembered. All of our loved ones are remembered. To a grieving parent, that is all I can ask for. And Greg Thompson, who lost his son Stanley in 1999, told us, as a parent who has buried a child, one of my greatest fears is the world forgetting my son. And as a facilitator for the MAD Ottawa Victims Program, I can tell you this is a consistent thought among victims. A public monument would give us all a place where we could visit and celebrate our loved ones. So you may be wondering what exactly we're asking for today. We're asking for accessible public space where we can install this monument, a space where the public will see it and have a chance to reflect. I have some photos of some of our monuments on the PowerPoint presentation, so I'll get if somebody could advance the slides. You'll notice that each of the monuments look different. It's important for us to work with the city to design a monument. So our Saskatchewan monument that you see here, located on the grounds of Saskatoon City Hall, was designed by city staff. The Alberta Monument, which is the next slide, is located at RCMP headquarters in Parkland. We partner closely with the municipality to design and create a monument that is right for the space and right for the community. MAD Canada covers the costs of the monument and its maintenance. We also cover the cost of the annual service that we hold at the monument, where we sadly acknowledge the names of new victims added each year. We hope you agree how important this monument is and hope you will direct city officials to study our request in more detail. My thanks once again to the Committee of Council for your time and consideration of our request, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your delegation. Councillor Santos.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, to the delegation, thank you for coming in and delegating on such an important issue and tragic. As a mom myself, whenever I read the social media posts that come from my kababayan, Jennifer Neville Lake, I get very choked up because I can't imagine the grief, ongoing grief that she's going through and so many others when they lose family members and especially for Jennifer, her children. And so I thank you for bringing this forward. Just a couple of questions for you. So this will be MAD Canada's memorial here in the city of Brampton?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Steve Sullivan, Director of Victim Services. Mr. Chair, through you, yes, it'll be our monument. We will purchase it. We will pay for the installment, and we will pay for the upkeep of it.
Okay, and just a question to perhaps staff. I'm making an assumption here. Has MAD Canada reached out to staff? Have there been ongoing conversations so far on the feasibility of making this happen here in our city?
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, we had a preliminary meeting with MAD and discussed what their requirements are and suggested they brought forward a delegation to council, and we're happy if it's council's will to move forward and to find space for a provincial monument for MAD Canada.
Well, it's certainly, from my perspective, something that I would like to do, that's for sure. In terms of, and this is now a question to staff in probably Kelly, would this particular monument should be placed in the city of Brampton, would that be put under the list of public art as well in the city of Brampton?
Through the chair to the councillor, I can also let Kelly or Director Tamming speak to this. We don't see this as public art. We see it more as it's a monument that will be dedicated to this. We see public art as a different a category, but I don't know if Kelly or Director Tamming would like to speak to it.
Thanks, Commissioner. And through the Chair, the council approved recently the public art framework for the 3 different types of considerations with the street level art, public art, and monuments like the Bill Davis statue that's underway, and this would probably fall outside of that and that's not a bad thing, just something we'd work off as a in essence a one-off, and our team, both from a design perspective and from just providing some commentary on best practice with respect to the development of the memorial, would be something we could provide comment on, and then working with Commissioner's team on location and best location in the city for that. Thank you.
Okay, great. I see some of my colleagues' names are on the board, and so I'd be happy to refer this delegation back to staff for a report back on how to implement MAD Canada's Provincial Memorial Monument in the city of Brampton. Thank you so much to the delegation. Thank you, MAD Canada. Thank you, Jennifer Neville Lake, for ongoingly being so open and sharing your story and experience and your loss.
Thank you. Next question I see is Councillor Plushy, followed by Councillor Vicente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Steve and Jamie Lynn, for delegating today. I wouldn't be able to delegate or talk about some of the things that you're talking about. As a father of 3, I'd get choked up a little bit too much. I just wanted to say to staff, fully support a referral back to staff to look at areas in Brampton. I've already thought of 10 in the area that Councillor Willens and I represent alone, so fully support the referral. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Vicente.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much to MAD Canada and to you, Jamie and Steve, for delegating to all of council here today. As the commissioner noted, we had a brief meeting earlier this year. I was present, and I just want to share with members of council that we from the city who were listening to the presentation and to this proposal and idea, we were really incredibly touched and felt a great privilege that Mad Canada would choose the city of Brampton as their choice for locating this very significant and important memorial. It will be the memorial for Mad Canada in Ontario. And there are so many places in Ontario where one could choose to put something of this tremendous importance, and that Mad Canada chose Brampton, I think it is a tremendous honor for the people of this city. And as I mentioned at that meeting, and I will say it again today, you have our full support, and we will do everything that we can to realize your vision and to make it great. And we will forever, if this moves ahead, and I'm very confident that it will, that we will be welcoming people from all across the province and the rest of the country when they come to Brampton to contemplate and think about this issue and to remember the lives of those who were lost to drunk driving. And we will forever take those folks in and help them to grieve and to think about this, and just want to say thank you to Mad Canada for thinking of Brampton and for asking us to take you and everyone who will be experiencing this on this journey. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to the delegation for coming. I'm fully in support of this as well. And there's been a request for a recorded vote on referring back for a report. So to the clerk, I'll let you lead the vote.
Members of committee, all in favor, please indicate. Councillor Santos.
Yes.
Councillor Vicente.
Yes.
Councillor Willens.
Yes.
Councillor Paleshi.
Yes.
Councillor Bowman.
Yes.
Councillor Medeiros.
Yes.
Councillor Williams.
Absolutely, yes.
Councillor Fortini.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon. I'll come back to you. Mayor Brown is present. Mayor Brown?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon? Councillor Dillon appears to be absent, although he is indicated as being present in the WebEx. Chair Singh?
Yes.
That motion carries unanimously, 10-0 with one absence.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Okay, I see Councillor Dillon in the chat. Councillor Dillon, if you can't use your mic, you can say, okay, that's a yes. So we have a unanimous vote in support.
So, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Dillon, can you unmute your mic, please? So, Mr. Chair, okay, we'll take that as a yes, but Councillor Dillon looks like he's active, but we do need him to verbalize his vote, please. If there's a technical issue, if he can let us know, we'll reach out to try and rectify that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Just having some problems. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Councillor. So that's unanimous, 11-0.
Thank you, Peter. We're going to go back to 6.3, a delegation from Gabrielle Fanis, VP Red Owl Boxing Club regarding youth boxing in Brampton. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Good morning, Gabrielle. You are in the session now. You can unmute your mic and you can turn on your video should you wish to address committee. You have up to 5 minutes.
Hello?
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hello?
You can proceed. We can
Hey.
hear you.
Everyone can hear me. Okay. Well, first, I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. My name is Gabriel Fanous. I'm the vice president of a large group of companies, Aero Group of Companies. We specialize in staffing and public opinion polling primarily, and now we're getting involved in sports. We currently employ approximately 3,000 temporary employees in Brampton, and we have a passion for sports, basketball, and boxing. We're glad to be here to talk about a project that we're working on in the city of Brampton at 25 King's Cross. It's going to be the preeminent destination for boxing in this entire nation. What we're on a mission to do is to promote grassroots boxing across Canada, starting here in Brampton, and build the sport nationwide. We're planning to put on professional events in Brampton and give back to the community and offer an outlet for our youth to participate in sport. Growing up as a boxing fan, I just fell in love with the sport. I started this business here to give back to the community and to give back to the sport that I love watching. I think in this day and age, fitness is very important for our youth. I think in this day and age, providing an outlet for the youth to get them out of trouble is something that's very important. And what we want to do is just bring awareness to the city council and to the city of Brampton that this is what we're here to do. I work very closely with Andrew Singh Cooner, who is head of our boxing operations. He was a two-time Olympian. He's with me here, and he wants to share a few thoughts as well.
Hello, everyone. That was a great little speech by Gabe. But we really appreciate having the opportunity to speak to you guys today. And just like Gabe said, we are what we really want to focus on here is with this Red Owl gym, the one in Brampton. We're looking at the youth and instilling these classes that are going to help the youth improve in terms of their discipline, their self-confidence, staying out of trouble. We know how difficult it is being a kid nowadays and all the temptations and the things that happen and the bullying and all that happens outside at school and things like that. So we want to be able to instill boxing in these youth, like, learning boxing, learning how to defend themselves, building their confidence, building their self-esteem, all those things that myself growing up in Windsor and, being called racist names and being tormented and stuff because of that. But going into boxing helped me tremendously. I was a shy kid getting in trouble and all that. But then I got into boxing. Then once I started getting into boxing, I started to improve my confidence. I felt better about myself. I started getting a lot more respect from people because they're like, oh, that's that kid that's boxing and he's doing something, he's going somewhere. And so there's a lot of respect there. And just boxing all together is such a great sport. And people have the conception that boxing is just a violent sport and that, but no, boxing does wonders for people. Like, we have programs at our gym right now, like we spoke about the youth boxing. We have a special needs boxing class. We have a women's boxing class. We have Olympic boxing. We want to get everybody in here. We want to get women. We want to get kids. We want to get adults. Everybody in here so they can be involved with boxing and they can get the benefits of boxing, because there's so many astronomical benefits of it that we just want to be able to share that with everyone. This gym here is a state-of-the-art gym. You guys have to come check it out sometime. It's one of the best gyms in Canada, and we want to make this a community gym. Like we're gonna have fight cards here, amateur, professional, starting in February. We want to have people come in, on a Saturday night. They can watch fights, enjoy themselves. Everyone gets along together, all to the sport that we love.
Thank you. And we do have a question from Councillor Dillon.
Thank you so much. And just perhaps I'm just going to have a couple quick comments. And I guess while I speak, maybe we can slowly go through those slides, because I had a chance to take a look through the slide deck, some wonderful pictures just for council to look at. And so, excuse me, I had an opportunity to go down to Red Owl Boxing. It's actually, the facility is a hidden gem in Brampton. It's on King's Cross, right near, it's in Councillor Fatini and Councillor Williams' ward, right near Bramley City Center. My oldest son actually attends the facility to play basketball, but I took a look at this. I had a chance to speak to Andrew and Gabriel. They gave me a tour of the facility, and they really ran down as to why. So it really ran through a lot of the options that the community has, and I asked them. I said, "Listen, you guys should come to council and talk about this." And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our youth, especially to get active, to get involved in sport, to build self-confidence. Andrew, actually, I don't know if he mentioned, is an Olympian who participated in the early 2000s in the summer games, and so. I'm going to be definitely getting my older son and my younger son both to sign up, and I think it's a good outlet for our kids to really, after school and on weekends to get in shape and to learn more about the sport. It's very technical and a lot of skill involved in it, and so I just want to say thanks to the guys for coming out, and again, I thought it was important for our council to really get a look at this facility. As I said before, it's a hidden gem in our city. And thanks, Gabriel, and thanks, Andrew, fellow Windsor boy, for coming in and delegating today.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dillon. We're not done yet, Gabriel. We have one more question. Thank you,
go ahead.
Comments, Councillor Fatini.
Thank you, Gabriel and Andrew, for coming in. Everything you said is absolutely correct. Keeping the young kids in. I remember as a child, I used to be down at DuPont with George Chavallo, and it takes everyone together. And you look at the boxing, these kids. I thought it was kind of dying down after I guess Tyson and everything went down, but it looks like it's starting to pick up again, and it's a good place. And I know one of the properties I manage up in Vankirk, they do a taekwondo there for after-school program, and it is so busy there until 9 o'clock at night, and it keeps the kids off the street, and they're just it's an amazing place to go for everyone. Maybe
thank you.
Could come there
and we appreciate that.
Competitions. We maybe could come and do some challenges there one day when you open. So thank you so much.
I just want to mention. I just want to mention as well, everyone, we're going to be putting together an open house early in January, and we would be more than happy if as many of the councilmen wanted to come and take a look at the facility at the open house in person. You're more than welcome to come, and we really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and I'll be there for sure. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, and our main objective here is, obviously to show you guys the gym on the slides and stuff and tell you about what we're doing, but we want to get the support of council on Brampton to help us bring these kids and facilitate this gym to everyone that would need it, like to get the kids active, working out, boxing, like that's really important to us, and we want to get the whole community. We want to get the city of Brampton behind us. so we can bring those kids and we can bring those adults and everybody in here to work out and learn self-defense and all the things in life that are important, confidence, self-esteem, all those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to get there. Maybe we can get some of these counselors boxing gloves, and I'm happy to jump in. So thank you so much, and I'm glad it's in Ward 7, mine and Councillor Williams' area. Thank you.
We have a free pair of boxing gloves and hand wraps for any counselor who wants them. And if you come 25 Kings Cross anytime, just ask for me and Andrew. We'll be more than happy to welcome you here to take a look at the facility. It's going to be great. And believe me when I tell you, it is the best facility in this country right here in Brampton.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. And I see 3 more questions now. Councillor Santos.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the delegation. I am not a councilman; I am a councilwoman. But what I will say is that I'm also a kickboxer, and as a kickboxer, I would love to test out your gym. This is a private facility, correct?
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
it's open to the public.
It's
privately owned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's private. It's private. It's privately owned and a for-profit. And you're looking to create some programming for at-risk youth to attend the gym as well.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. So I will definitely sign up. And I'm assuming you have some punching bags and focus pads, etc. I'll put on my boxing shoes and my wraps, and I'd be happy to train and help promote and share the work that you're doing with this gym. Thank you very much for coming in
That's
today.
awesome. We appreciate that.
All right. And it's Councillor Santos, not Councilman Santos. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you through the chair. I'm so glad Councillor Santos said that. This is Councillor Williams and not a councilman. I actually used to box in my early days, and in Brampton, in Bramalea actually. So I'm really excited that this is here. So I was going to ask, how much work are you doing to recruit young girls and women into the boxing facilities, and what kind of steps are you going to be taking to encourage women?
Let me just address that. So my business primarily is in statistics. We're talking about 50% of the population is women. I have 2 young daughters myself, 7 and 5 years old. They're in here punching the bag with Andrew. They're loving it. We're trying to get more women into the sport. We have a women's only class.
Nice.
And also in the February show, we're putting on one fight that's a female fight. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to grow the grassroots interest in boxing by addressing as many demographic categories as we possibly can. And women is a huge part of what we're trying to do here. Absolutely.
That's really good to hear because, women's boxing, and you can see the progression moving into MMA, and the women's sector is growing, and there will be some strong athletes coming in. Absolutely, if you grow on it. Also, some of the programs in Brampton used to have a lot of not seniors, but more seasoned members of the city engaging in boxing and looking for space to be able to hold those kind of classes. So do you have people that will be able to engage some of our more seasoned residents as well? Hello?
Yeah, I think that was to you. Oh, Gabriel, I think their internet connection.
So sorry. So I think the question was if we have a program for more. Was the question if we had a
Yeah, programs for our senior residents, our older residents, to get out there and punch, because we know it's a great form of exercise. You do the 1, 2, 3, 6, and it's great for the brain. I think they're having internet connection issues.
I think so too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, you can answer.
Yeah, so I just wanted to,
Oh, it's really choppy.
Perhaps, Gabriel, if you can turn off your camera, that may improve the audio.
you do this.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I do have. Can you guys hear me?
If you turn off your camera, it might improve your internet connection.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we turned it off.
I think it's better.
It's better?
Yep. Would you like to answer Councillor Williams' question regarding if you have classes for more seasoned residents?
Yeah, we turned off the camera on our side. So just can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so just in regards to your question, I read you were talking about older population. Yeah, so in regards to the older population, I do classes for older pop. Yeah, yes, we do. I do. Okay.
Somebody's mic is on. Somebody else's mic.
Yeah,
Just
I do. We do programs for older people as well too, the older population, and boxing has shown to have astronomical benefits for older population. So like to get them to exercise and like you were talking about, speaking about cognitive and that I focused on a lot of that. Like I train people with Parkinson's disease, and there's a lot of extreme benefits for boxing for these population.
That's great to hear, and so I won't take up much time because I know the connection is kind of choppy, but it's great that you're able to have programs that cater to our women, our seniors, and the facility over where you are at King's Cross, beautiful, and I'm looking forward to when you get started and open. And also, I guess a lot of concern that parents have. It was definitely a concern of my parents, and when my brother and I were engaging in boxing, is the concern with brain injury. So, how are you able to, encourage safety? And so that's my final question, if you want to speak to that. But outside of that, I'm really excited about boxing. It's a great sport. To the chair, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. I don't think it's working properly. I know you just asked a question and didn't get a response. So if it's okay, could I move forward? Maybe you could reach out to them offline.
That's fine. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Pleshy. I don't think Gabriel. Are you guys still there? Okay, but I think they're having severe technical difficulties. But Councillor Pleshy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just put the question that I have out into the public anyways. I'm just wondering if they offer any subsidized programs for those that can't afford the full fees within their boxing gyms. In the city, we have many sports organizations that offer those subsidized programs for people that aren't able to pay for the full fee of the program. So I'm just asking if they provide that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. and I don't hear from them. Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, just one comment. I think I think their connection is lost, but I will say that one of the things they may not have mentioned was that Andrew actually was a coach to Kyle Lowry and his wife while they were members of while he was a member of the Toronto Raptors, and so it's pretty impressive. And he had a number of other high-profile people he was training as well, and so they're not necessarily hitting and getting hit per se, but it's more so just getting active and moving. And so one of the other things that I thought was pretty impressive. So, but their connection's gone, and I guess if anybody does have questions, they can just reach out directly to them. But thanks to them, and thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, and I'll have Councillor Dillon receive the delegation. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Next item is 6.5, a delegation from Danny Price, President, and Beto, First Vice President, and Joe Giorgio, Second Vice President, Unifor Local 1285, regarding Stellantis Brampton Assembly Plant EV investments. Welcome, Danny, Vito, and Joe. The floor is yours.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, good morning. Good morning, Mayor Brown and members of council. My name is Danny Price, and I'm the president of Unifor Local 1285, based proudly out of the city of Brampton. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Joining me is Local 1285 First Vice President Vito Beato and Second Vice President Joe Giorgi. Our local represents nearly 5,000 workers in this community across many different workplaces, including manufacturing, warehousing, food processing, and others. The majority of our members, approximately 3,400, work at the Stellantis Brampton Assembly Plant. Another 500 of our members work in factories that supply that plant. The facility is a pillar of our local economy and has been for decades. Thanks to the work of our union, this facility provides thousands of good-paying, high-quality jobs for residents of Brampton and surrounding areas. Every one job on the assembly line supports 10 others in the economy overall. This plant matters to Brampton. Unfortunately, we see storm clouds on the horizon. Our union carefully monitors product program forecasts for all of our auto assembly plants. Although these are still early stage projections, multiple industry reports suggest there is no product allocation to our facility starting in 2023. That includes a projection that the Dodge Charger and Challenger production may leave Brampton and move to the United States. Brampton is the only place that these Chargers and Challengers have been built, and we sell more of them now than when they first launched. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned. This isn't information our local wanted to receive. And even though it is not confirmed by the company and treated only as rumors at this point, we are taking it very seriously. We have no choice. As we all know, the auto industry is undergoing an historic transformation. Internal combustion engine vehicles are slowly but surely phasing out. Canada has gone so far as to mandate that showrooms can only sell zero-emission vehicles starting in 2035. The future, clearly, is in electrification, and for good reason. Climate change is the single greatest threat facing our generation and future generations. I can tell you that auto workers in Canada want to be part of the solution. The fact is, right now in Brampton, we build muscle cars that are popular the world over and generate massive profits for Stellantis, profits that are being used to fund the company's transition to EVs. Our members take immense pride in the cars we built. We want to continue building these cars, and we want to build their hybrid and all-electric versions too. There's no reason why we can't. With meaningful investment in our facility, we can retool just like other auto assembly facilities are retooling across Ontario. We continue our legacy of car making into the future. Ultimately, we want to keep building cars in Brampton, period. And I think Brampton City Council shares that goal. We've had discussions with Stellantis representatives. We've expressed our concerns. They've reassured us that no final decisions have yet been made for product allocation and that they are committed to a future presence in Canada. That's all good news, but with respect to the Brampton Assembly Plant, they're non-committal. Our future remains open-ended and uncertain. Add in this proposed U.S. electric vehicle rebate scheme and a persistent semiconductor shortage, and the uncertainty only grows. I'd say to you what I've been saying to our members. Now is not the time to panic, but now is not the time to sit back either. I want to thank Mayor Brown specifically for his letters of support to both federal and provincial ministers in the past weeks. Our members need to know that their community has their back. We need to know that when the time comes to act, Brampton Council is standing with us, advocating for product and securing good jobs. And if it's a fight to secure this critical industry, we want to know Brampton Council is in our corner, fighting for our plant, fighting for our jobs. I'd just like to thank you for the time you've given us today, and we look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for that delegation. First off, I see two questions so far. First is Councillor Williams, and then Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Danny, Vito, and Joe for coming in today. You know, this is scary. I can't lie. This is a scary situation. That plant has transformed the city of Brampton. Oh.
Sorry,
Hello, can you hear
Councillor
me?
Williams?
I could hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Sorry,
It
just
seemed like there was a power outage.
Councillor Williams?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We hear you, but
Chair Singh, can you hear me? It's Peter.
Yep, I can hear everyone.
Okay, good. It seemed like there was a power outage for a second.
I can hear Peter, I can hear the delegation, and I can hear Councillor Williams.
Okay, thank you. We experienced the same in the chambers, but I think we're all good to go. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying it is a scary situation. Chrysler, that plant has been a staple in the community and employs thousands, as you've mentioned. My dad retired from that plant, worked there over 40 years, and you know, it really is something that we have to fight for. We definitely have to fight for. So I guess, you know, we saw the similar situation happening in Oshawa, and I'm just wondering if, I'm not sure if you all can answer this, but maybe it's more for our economic development team. What have we been doing to stay on top of this and to make sure that there is some plans that we can advocate for, and what has been happening on our end to see this not go down that road and leave us without the plant here?
Through the chair, it's Richard, if I may. We have Claire Barnett on the line who can speak to the initiatives that staff have been focused on as it relates to this particular issue as well as broader issues. Claire?
Thank you, Richard. Good morning, and thank you for the delegation. Danny, you're quite right. This plant really does matter to Brampton. We want you to keep building cars in the city, and we also see the storm clouds on the horizon. As you know, we've been working with you and your team on several items, and I can list some of those for Councillor Williams and for members of council, so you know that we take this very seriously. We have sent letters to the federal and provincial ministers to ensure that the facility is on their radar when they are having conversations with the company, that they mention Brampton, that Brampton becomes part of that conversation, because right now it really is a conversation about Canada, Windsor, and we want to make sure that Brampton is in that conversation. We have also had conversations with the bureaucracy. I've met with the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, as well as their auto team, to ensure the same. We are talking to them if they can share anything about the company and any business challenges or business costs of that plant, that they can share them with us and we can help try and address them. We are working on plant visits. We'd like to try and tour the Brampton facility again with members of council when the company is taking visitors, as well as visits to their headquarters for Canada in Windsor, and conversations with their headquarters in Paris we're trying to line up. We're also speaking with the consulate, the Canadian consulate in Detroit. It's really important that the Consul General in Detroit, Canada's Consul General in Detroit, also knows about this challenge, this potential challenge or this issue, and has Brampton in his messaging and in his languages. We've also been meeting with the APMA, with Flavio Volpe, and having conversations with him because he's certainly in the know and in the conversation. And so what the intention of all of that is to really ensure that Brampton is in the conversation, that people are thinking of Brampton, and that we aren't being forgotten when it comes to investment from the company as well as from the province and the federal government. We will continue to do anything that we can to support and certainly follow the issue. And Danny did mention the EV tax credits. That's something that my team and I are following very closely in the US, because that US policy will absolutely affect where companies will invest in the future. Councillor, I hope that answers your question, and I'm happy to elaborate on any of those details.
You know what that does? I think we are being proactive, which is a good thing. I guess my next question, would a communication strategy also help? It seems like we really need to be in people's faces about how important this plant is, and how the plant, so many families are fed because of this plant in the city of Brampton. And so maybe to to you guys, do you have a campaign strategy that you're working on right now that maybe the city of Brampton can support, collaborate with?
We don't have anything specific. This is what we're trying to do right now. Is we're trying to take this. We know we go into bargaining in 2023, and we didn't want to be caught sitting on our hands. Mm-hmm. So reaching out to the council and reaching out to Mayor Brown and doing exactly what was just explained, getting Brampton's name put out there and the Brampton Assembly Plant be spoken about at the proper levels, both provincially and federally, is what our plan has been right now, and we want to continue with that. We can use our resources if you want us to put together a presentation, which we debated on doing today. And I apologize, this being my first Brampton City Council meeting, we weren't quite sure of the format and what we were to prepare for. But we can do, we could use our resource department and get more specific facts regarding the Brampton Assembly Plant. I did list off, the amount of people we have working there, the spin-off jobs that are related to the Brampton Assembly Plant. All those things are some of the speaking points that the different levels of government probably know, but they need to be reminded, because it's a huge boost to the economy, not just in Brampton, but Ontario and Canada. And with Stellantis, we only have the two assembly plants, one in Windsor and the one here in Brampton. We have an Etobicoke casting plant in Etobicoke, but just two assembly plants. And I know the federal government has committed to the Windsor assembly plant some investment. And I think it would be a bit of a miss, I guess, to only be investing in the one and then you were to lose the second one. I believe this country needs both assembly plants. The economy needs both, and I think, by our history, I mean, we're making money for the company. We have been for decades now. Windsor with the minivan did the same thing. I think we need to be still running in this country going forward into the electrification. So I'm not sure if I'm rambling or if I answered your question, but we definitely want to help and participate all the way through the process with anything that we can do.
You know, what you're saying is excellent. And I think some kind of, and don't worry about not having a presentation today. You've been really great. The message that you're giving us today it hits home and perfect. Don't worry. And but you know, I think that the more we put this out there, and the more, because I sometimes wonder how much of our residents who are also impacted by the spinoff, as you mentioned, know that if this goes, then many different companies will significantly experience a ripple effect. And so I guess my question is to Jason or Communications is, would you need just direction from council to be able to coordinate with Unifor at some kind of campaign to get the message out there and to speak to the significance that this plant has to so many Brampton residents, especially as we go out and do tours and visits of the plant again, and you know, all the other advocacy efforts that we're making.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Councillor. Through the chair, we can we can connect with the with Unifor. I think ideally we could connect with the organization as well, and look to build on. I understand if the mayor's written some letters, we can build on the content of that on as well. If there's anything specific that council's looking for with respect to the request, that would be helpful. Otherwise, we'll build on the advocacy letter already sent.
Okay, great. I guess, you know, this would be good to have come back to us. So if I could refer this to staff so that we can have some kind of concrete campaign strategy to talk about this. I know Councillor Fortini and I are huge advocates for Stellantis Brampton Assembly Plant and for the residents of Ward 7 and 8 and all over Brampton, because we know this plant does employ thousands of people here. And so I guess just a motion to refer this to staff to come back with some kind of communication strategy and working with Unifor so that we can get this message out there. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the council for listening.
Thank you. There's two other questions. Councillor Willens.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Not really a question, more of a comment. Thanks for coming in. This manufacturing facility is very, very important to Brampton. I mean, it was very important back in the 80s when, I guess it was a partnership. Actually, my father, when he was the mayor, drove an Eagle Premier that was made by AMC and in a partnership with Renault. And then when Chrysler bought the rights to Renault and eventually renamed to Chrysler, and actually I believe the Eagle Premier was made in one of the first cars made in that new plant. I think they started making it in September of 1987, I think, somewhere around there. But no, thanks for coming in. This is very important. You guys have been a great partner for the city of Brampton, and what I'm very impressed with is not often you hear union members get up and speak about the importance of electrification, because that's very important in our community. We've got a community energy plan that we've been working over the last number of years, and transportation is a big part of that. So it's nice that you recognize that. Anything we can do as a council, absolutely, you got 100% support, and especially a lot of support from me, because it was my father actually in the council of the day back in the 80s that kept the American motors here. They wanted to move it to the U.S. and they kept them here. We were able to build that new plant, and it provided a lot of income for the residents back then, and you still do. So thanks very much, guys, for coming in, and look forward to working with you very closely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Willens. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Unifor, for coming in, Danny, everyone. I guess I have two questions. You mentioned that it is possible and it is inevitable that the plant would need to retool for the future of electric vehicles. If you could just, first of all, comment on, just for folks who are listening, on what that would entail, the kind of time and expense that would be required. And in the past, when this has been, retooling a plant has been done before. I know that this plant has retooled at least once or twice, if I can recall. What would be the role of federal and provincial governments and their participation in assisting to make that happen?
Well, the one role would be financially, obviously. The retooling of plants over the years, they're able to do it at a lot quicker pace than they used to do 15, 25 years ago. But it's a substantial amount of money. I mean, nowadays, when I went to school, you never really spoke about $1 billion. It seemed like such a huge number. Nowadays, we throw around $1 billion, like it's nothing. But it is a huge investment to completely retool and go right to a complete electrification vehicles. We would have to change the whole plant basically from front to back. Now, there is the possibility of doing a hybrid before going fully electric, and the hybrid, what I'm being told, would be able to go down the same lines that we have existing right now. But you're talking, the numbers that are being thrown around out in Windsor are $2-3 billion that the investment needed. Now that's, to my knowledge, is obviously not fully coming from the federal or provincial governments. They're hopefully putting in a portion, and then the company is doing their share.
Okay, thank you. And with respect to the economic impact of the auto industry in Canada, and you talked about the spin-off jobs that benefit people very widely, what is the value that this plant, for example, contributes to the province, to the country?
Well, with the approximate 3,400 members we have in the plant itself, and then we have some feeder plants that supply the plant, and there's another 500 members. So for easy math, you're looking at about 39 to 4,000 people directly related. With the spin-off jobs, we're being told you can times that by 10. So you're looking at about 40,000 jobs tied into the Brampton assembly plant.
And Danny, what kind of value in dollars does that represent for our Canadian economy?
I didn't crunch the numbers before this meeting, but the assembly workers make a range of, they got a grow-in wage. So you're looking at wages between $20, $25 and $34 an hour. Some of the feeder plants, you're looking at $20, $22 an hour per person. So if I was to pull out a calculator and do rough math, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars being put into the economy every year in Ontario.
Yeah, and just looking at a quick fact sheet, auto industry in Canada is in the order of hundreds of billions of dollars to our economy. And so I think we can begin today by speaking clearly to our federal members of parliament and our provincial members of parliament to say this: imagine the morning after if Stellantis were to make the decision to not realize a future for this plant. And think about the impact that would have for this province and this country. No more plants in the city of Brampton, no more spin-off jobs, no more benefit for Canadians. And imagine then what it is that you must do to prevent that from happening, and do that work sooner rather than later, because if we're not contributing to this, if I may use the word cash cow, for the people of Canada, for the wealth that it brings, the prosperity that it brings to Canadians, then we are at risk of losing it. And so let us begin the conversation today on what it is that we are willing to do as a province and as a country to make sure that Stellantis sees the next round, the next stage of the future of this plant and the benefits that it brings to people. Let's not let it get to the point where we lose something that we do not want to lose. So you have our support, and we will do everything that we can to make sure that that message is heard loud and clear. We will be at your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And if I could just add, if we go back, and it wasn't that long ago, in 2009, when the auto industry was facing bankruptcy, and there was a lot of people in the community that thought, oh, you know, who needs the auto industry? And some people wanted to just let it go because there was talks about, you know, the government helping these fat auto CEOs that were making all this big bucks to bail them out. But the reality was, when it came to Chrysler and now Stellantis, they received loans from the federal government, which was great. And because of those loans and being able to save Chrysler, which then got taken over by Fiat, and we became Fiat Chrysler, the industry thrived. And it turned out that the North American part of Fiat Chrysler actually, in the end, saved Fiat from going bankrupt over in Europe. So the thriving auto industry in North America is very needed, and the amount of money going into the economy, not only did they pay back those loans, when Sergio Marchionne was the head of Fiat Chrysler, they paid him off in record time. So a lot of the people in the public now, when it was explained to them properly, they realize the true benefit to having such a huge industry in this country and the need for it. And if you look around the world, most other countries really truly value their auto industry and they want to keep it. At that point in time in 2009, you know, when you watch the news, there was a lot of people speaking that they just wanted to just let it fall, just let it go, you know, not just in Canada, but in the United States. So I really appreciate your comments and your support, and we truly would love to have everybody on board, because not just because I work in the auto industry, I can see the economic benefits that we all reap in the province and in the country because of the auto industry.
Thank you, and I agree, and I think that we all need to see this challenge also as a great opportunity, because as we realize and have declared that we are in a climate emergency, the greening and the electrification of vehicles really is an important step for everyone to take. And given that we are an auto town, if you could say that, we are at the middle of that change, and really the opportunity for more jobs and for more benefit really is there. And so we seek that our federal and provincial partners recognize this as the opportunity that it is, and find ways to assist you and to assist the manufacturer to continue to invest in Brampton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. I just want to thank Danny and Vito and Joe for their advocacy. I think your question was, you want to know that the city's by your side, and as I stated when we met in person, you know, we're going to be there by your side, unequivocally, trying to remind the federal and provincial governments that we need to protect these jobs, and policy changes on those levels could have dramatic ramifications. And you know, Councillor Basante is right. You know, if you look at the jobs of tomorrow, it's in this electric lane, and there are incredible opportunities if they're willing to invest in that transformation. And so I want you to know, not only will we be standing by your side, but we'd be kicking and screaming if there was any attempts to take this historic employment in our community away. And we know that it's a competitive global environment right now. And so the fact that Unifor has really raised a red flag that I know we need to be mindful that commitment to 2023 is fragile, and we need to make sure that commitment goes well beyond that, and the investment and the transformation that needs to happen occurs. As you know, we've communicated our opinions on this directly to Stellantis and the provincial and federal governments, and we will work hand in hand with you, making sure that our voice is heard loud and clear. And I know my friend Jerry Dias is never one to shy away from standing up for Canadian jobs and Canadian employment, and we will be there as passionately as possible by your side, expressing our commitment to these, to keeping these jobs and the necessary public policy changes that are required to see the electric sector grow in Canada.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. I think that's a great way to end this delegation. I have a motion to refer this back to staff by Councillor Williams. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you, Danny. Thank you to the team. That is the end of the delegation. Moving on to government relations, 7.1. Blaine Lucas is here with a presentation for Committee of Government, for Committee of Council on Government Relations. Welcome, Blaine.
Thank you, and through Chair Singh. The Government Relations Matters presentation this week will provide a situational awareness update from the Region of Peel, the Province of Ontario, the Government of Canada, and an update related to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So as you're aware, the Peel Regional Budget deliberations continue, and just for awareness of the public and members of council, the relevant dates are December 2nd at 9:30, December 9th and 16th. So all budget meetings start at Thursday at 9:30 on December 2nd, 9th, and 16th. So the Public Affairs team reviewed the Peel Regional agenda and reached out to city staff as appropriate, and will continue to monitor the Peel Regional budget deliberations, and we'll make sure we're available to Brampton Regional Councillors for any research assistance as required. We could move forward now, please, on to the next slide. So the second day of budget deliberations with the Region of Peel features a series of delegations from external agencies such as the Peel Regional Police, the Ontario Provincial Police, Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, Credit Value Conservation, and also the Halton Region Conservation Authority. Just an important note, the presentation for Peel Regional Police was posted online to the public as of November 30th, and the Public Affairs staff are in the process of reviewing the information, and will provide regional councillors, members of council, with an update of any information that we secure through that review. We could move forward now, please, on to the next slide. So in provincial updates, I want to point your attention to the announcement of the Provincial Municipal Housing Summit that is scheduled for December 16th for Ontario's big city mayors and regional chairs. It is anticipated that Premier Ford and Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, will host the summit and engage with mayors and regional chairs. The summit is intended to identify further opportunities for collaboration to address the housing affordability crisis in Ontario. The Public Affairs team, we have reached out for further information, and will provide supporting materials to members of council, and specifically in support of Mayor Brown's attendance once we secure that information. In other developments, the province confirmed the first cases of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 in Ontario. The province and local health authorities are monitoring the situation, and I'm sure that further information will be provided through Mayor Brown's COVID-19 update. In addition, the province also announced funding for 78 school and child care related projects and funding to promote skilled trades for young people, including expansion of the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. Also yesterday, the province announced that the Premier and the Minister of Health will make an announcement today in Mississauga. The announcement is was scheduled for 10 o'clock, and the information that has just been released is related to formally announce the expansion of Hospital in Mississauga, creating what the announcement termed as the largest hospital in Canada. So we have, as council progressed this morning, our committee has progressed this morning, we have been searching through the information determined the cost of that facility, and we will make sure that we provide that information to members of council as it further continue the discussions around the local share of our local hospital and then the financial impact on the municipality. So we'll provide further information once that becomes available. From what we've reviewed so far, the media releases have not captured the actual cost of the facility or the hospital facility in Mississauga, other than the fact it will have the largest emergency department in Canada. If we could move forward now, please, to federal updates on slide 5. In federal developments, we previously have highlighted the start of the fall session of House of Commons and the speech from the throne that took place on November 22nd. As we discussed, a briefing note was circulated to members of council that outlined the policy and government focus areas. In other developments, the government launched the 2021 to 2022 call for proposals for the community-based projects through the New Horizons for Seniors program. The call for proposals is open until December 21st. The city has previously received funding for this program, and our staff will evaluate potential opportunities for an additional application. Excuse me. The federal government also announced a call for proposal for Parks Canada's national cost-sharing program for heritage places. And it states that eligible heritage sites must be designated by the minister responsible for Parks Canada on the advice of the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada. So the Public Affairs team is reviewing both opportunities, both for potential application opportunities for the city. In addition, the federal government also announced legislation that would amend the Canada Labour Code to provide 10 days of paid sick leave per worker in all federally regulated private sectors. We can move forward now onto the slide 6. The last slide for our presentation today provides a high-level overview of the Indigenous Municipal Relationship Agreement guidance document for municipalities, a new resource that has been released by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. The document is intended to support AMO members in creating Indigenous Municipal Relationship Agreements to establish a long-term relationship of practical cooperation and commitment that is respectful of the Indigenous community. So this information, in addition to being provided to members of council, has been forwarded to Michelle Byrne, our manager of the Equity Office, for review and to ensure that we're incorporating into our work plan. So that concludes a quick presentation for this week, but I'm happy to take any questions from Mayor Brown or members of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mayor Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Blaine, for that presentation. And I know the Mississauga announcement just happened, but I am looking at the news release and it says 350 new beds at the Mississauga site and 150 new beds at the Etobicoke site. Etobicoke certainly tends to do well in these hospital announcements. I think it's our responsibility to always look at every provincial and federal investment and to examine Brampton's allocation. So if you could get back to us for the next GR report, I'd love to dive in a little bit more on this Mississauga announcement so we can compare it to the Brampton one. I know the Brampton one was 250 beds plus the capacity for another 100. And so I'd like to know the timelines of Mississauga's 350 and if the timelines are comparable to Brampton's timelines for our 350, in the sense that The way it was explained to me from the province was that the Mississauga building timeline is much longer than the Brampton one. So I just want to know what the schedule it will be for our 350 new beds and what the schedule will be for their 350 beds. Because if for any reason the schedule for their pathway to 350 was faster than our pathway to 350 new, then I think it would be important for us to do some advocacy expressing our disappointment with that. Not to say that that's the case. I just want to make sure that what I'm hearing from provincial officials is consistent with the fine print. So if you could endeavor to get that additional information, is that possible, Blaine?
Through the chair to Mayor Brown, of course, we can put that together. And you're absolutely correct, sir. I have my cell phone in my hand. I'm holding the announcement in one hand and trying to interpret for members of council. During the research that we did for our local sheriff for our hospital, I know we had found that there was an RFP or a tender posted for the construction of the facility in Mississauga. So we worked with our procurement folks to secure those documents. What we were trying to do was find out what is the cost. And what we've been able to determine so far is our earliest estimate is about $2 billion. But, I will continue our research, sir, and we'll make sure that for the next GRM, any additional information we can find on, the extent of the hospital, when the construction is expected to start, and then do that direct comparison with our local facility to make sure that we are securing the fair share for Brampton.
And Blaine, on that in that context, net new investments, of course, because if they are, sometimes governments have a habit of re-announcing news. Dare I say that happens? So if there are, I understand part of the Mississauga announcement is that it's a rebuild, and so there'll be existing facilities that are rebuilt, but it won't be net new capacity. And so reading the fine print as I do, it looks like a net of 350. So just if you could show that chart to us, what is the net new in Mississauga and what is the net new in Brampton, not necessarily refurbishments, because if you're replacing an existing bed with a refurbished bed, it's still the same spot. Correct.
Perfect. Yeah, through the chair to the mayor, of course, sir, we'll do the evaluation based on the net new in comparison to the net new of our facility.
And also, Blaine, you mentioned the police presentation to regional council. I know this doesn't give you much time, but this is why we have your team here. We've been getting a lot of calls about robberies and car thefts, and I know the police are on it. But I'm going to have questions at the police budget in terms of response times, and in particular, I understand we're getting the new station in the northwest of Brampton that I'm elated about, and thank you, Councillor Paleshi and Willens, for your advocacy on that front. But if there is publicly available data on response times, because I know, once we're successful with this northwest station, and I guess they purchased the land, so it looks like it's a positive pathway ahead. There's going to be a real need in the northeast, and my understanding is that the slowest response times right now are to that northeast corner. And so, if we're going to be asking some tough questions tomorrow, I would like to have some additional information. So, if there's any information that you could have that you could arm us with, I know Councillor Dillon would probably be very interested in this as well, and Councillor Fertini, because it affects their residents. I would like to know what the response time is for that northeast and how it would compare to other response times in the GT HA. And so, if there is a blind spot in the police's capacity to respond, I think it would be incumbent upon us at regional council to really ask for a plan forward. What is the plan to deal with that? I've gone to enough town halls and parks with Councillor Singh and Councillor Dillon to know this is an issue that needs some analysis. And so anything you can provide to us before that presentation tomorrow so we can ask those questions would be much appreciated.
Yeah, through Chair Singh to the Mayor, of course, so we can put that together. Just off the top of my head, the piece that jumps out is, questions that you probably will not find in the budget presentation, but is around, emergency service deployment, right? So, a question that jumps to mind is, what is the overall police car count for the municipality? So if a police officer is called to a certain transaction, is there a process to make sure that that car count within the municipality is maintained? So you have set number of resources dedicated to the city at all times. But I certainly will put something together, sir, around what is the response time, how it impacts the city, and also to see if there's any municipal comparators. We'll do our best to make sure we have that for you for tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Councillor Fortini. Oh, sorry, Councillor Willens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, sorry. I said
Councillor
Councillor
Willens.
Councillor Fortini. Yeah, sorry, I messed up. It's Councillor Willens then you. All right, Councillor Willens.
Okay.
That's okay. Thank you, Blaine. Actually, I think you answered it because you're looking into the funding, right? Because the announcement said it's a multi-billion investment, but I think you said it's $2 billion, Mississauga, and then you're looking at versus what our local share is. So I think you answered that question already. And the second question I had, Mayor Brown alluded to it with the number of beds. So I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you, and I apologize. Next is Councillor Fortini.
Mr. Chair, it's okay. Going back, Wayne, can you find? I know that they're getting 9.6 billion a multi thing, but that's replacing their beds, so they're not getting any extra. The other ones are the 350. Can we also find out on that portion if they have to do a levy? I know Mayor Brown, you were on TV this morning doing a zero tax increase, but we got to be very careful if we want our health care. They mentioned it very clearly at the region that we're not going to get any funding from them if we do it zero. So we got to look at other things too, or else at the end we're still going to be paying for it. So I want to like to find out if they also have to do a levy. Our construction is starting in 2023, so we're way ahead of them as far as I know. But if they got to come up with $2 billion for their share, they have to do a levy on that portion. So they'll probably be coming at the region too for help. So maybe we could combine it together and try to get some help for both hospitals. The same as instead of putting it all on our tax levy here. So thank you.
Yeah, through Chair Singh to Councillor Fortini. Of course, sir, we can include that as well, because the one thing that I've been looking at is, post-pandemic, I guess the volume of hospital expansion in the province is historic. And I think the one piece that maybe wasn't contemplated was the fact that, we're building these hospitals, which is a great thing. But I think the holdover piece around the local municipal share, under normal circumstance, you're building one hospital. It probably doesn't have as significant an impact as you're in the province is infusing billions of dollars into the healthcare sector. But that also means that there's potential for $1 billion of investment from the municipal sector. So I think that we'll take a look and we will, if we as best we can, determine if there is a levy for the citizens of Mississauga and compare that to our circumstance in Brampton. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, and thank you. And it doesn't really matter at the end. Mississauga, Brampton, we're all going to use the hospitals. What the other comment I like to go on down the police thing. I know they're very busy, but there's also a lot of issues when I don't think. I know we're getting all these robberies and all, and I know one of my neighbor's car got stolen and everything on video, but I think they just say, well, let's deal with it through the insurance. So, I'm going to ask some tough questions tomorrow why they're not followed up and all, but we'll see what happens at the region because a lot of them, you can actually catch them right on video, but it looks like they're not really taking that step of action. And these people are getting away with it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow at the region. So thank you, Mayor Brown and the Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fortini. Councillor Dillon, are you on or I can't? Just want to confirm. Okay.
Hold on, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. And I don't see any other questions. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Bertini to receive this presentation. Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Otherwise, your vote will count in the affirmative. Hearing and seeing no objections, the motion carries. Moving on to 7.2, it's an update from Mayor Patrick Brown regarding COVID-19 emergency. Mayor Brown, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Singh. We had a briefing this morning with Dr. Lowe, Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Raj Graywal, and Dr. Priya Suppel, and thank you, Regional Councillor Dillon, for supporting the briefing today. By and large, it's positive. The vaccination rates continue to be impressive, almost 90% now first dose, almost 86% second dose. We've had 6,000 children in the last week get vaccinated. And I got to give a shout out to the COVID-19 task force, the folks out at Embassy Grand. They've been doing some incredible work. They've had all these superheroes. They've had loot bags. They're really making it a fun environment for children. And they've also, there's no timeline, no schedule. Children can ask as many questions as they want of the physicians, and parents too. And so it's just really nice to see Brampton rising to the occasion. There was a great CBC article that showed how the hardest hit community now has rates of vaccination that many would envy. And today, Dr. Lowe was saying we now have a lower positivity rate than the provincial average. Now, for much of the pandemic, we had the highest positivity rate in the province. You remember, it wasn't too long ago that we had a 20% positivity rate. So the fact that we're down to 2.44% is just well done, and it shows the sacrifices have paid off. I know there's a lot of questions about this new Omicron variant. I would say, just speaking with our physicians this morning, that some of the alarmist approach may be unnecessary. We still have to see the science and the data, but Dr. Lowe said that he believes there'll be a level of effectiveness of the vaccines against this variant, and the initial information is that it is less severe. It may be more transmissible, but if it's less severe, that's the key thing. But also, the key reminder for everyone is get vaccinated. That's your protection. And really, we're moving to a scenario where the conversation is really about, global vaccine equity. And if there are segments of the world with low vaccination access, it's going to affect our global ability to get beyond this pandemic. But overall, it's positive news in our community. We have made incredible strides, and we really owe a debt of gratitude to the team of exceptional healthcare leaders we have in Brampton. And Dr. Lowe came to me this morning and told me how much he appreciated the motion that we passed last week. And he asked me to pass it on to council, that he really appreciated our support. And I reminded him that 99% of the city appreciates the sacrifice he makes 7 days a week to look out for our health, to look out for the wellness of our city. And the reason we passed that motion was to let him know that we stand with him, and he wanted you to know that he was grateful.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. We have a question by Councillor Willens. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, through you, Chair. Just quickly, I've had a couple of questions from residents and actually family members about the booster shots. I know it's 168 days after your second shot, but they're having difficulty finding where do you go. Do you have that handy?
Well, and there's different eligibility. The eligibility really hasn't been expanded in Ontario yet. So the best source would go right to public health. If you just call public health, they will let you know if you are eligible. And I would say, my age cohort is not eligible, but I would certainly jump at the opportunity to get a booster when I'm eligible. And Councillor Willens, I'm not sure if your age cohort is even eligible yet. So the best approach would be simply to check with the public health website to see if you are eligible.
Okay, yeah, but the ones that are asking me are eligible, and I am eligible because I did the double dose of AstraZeneca. So my time's up, but try to find it on the public health site. But I'll go back on again. Thanks.
And maybe we can circulate that information, because if you're asking that question, there's a lot more people that are interested. And so I'm going to look over to our BMO team if we could circulate a message on that on social media to let people know which number to call and which website to call for where you can get that booster shot. I know in long-term care homes, they're actually going directly to the homes. But if we could share that information publicly, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you, and I don't see any other questions. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Willens to receive the presentation from Mayor Brown. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carried. Moving on, the corporate services section. We have no staff reports. 8.2.1 was in consent, 8.2.2 was referred to council, 8.2.3 was in consent, 8.2.4 was held by Councillor Bowman. Councillor Bowman, the floor, sorry, 8.2.4, regarding important commemorative dates for 2022, held by Councillor Bowman. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I just have very, very quick question. There's quite a few commemorative flag raisings and things scheduled. We did quite a few this year. We have quite a few scheduled for 2022. My question is just simply to communications. Is it possible for communications to send out to all councillors just a tentative hold for each of those dates in their calendar throughout the year, rather than each of our assistants having to do it independently? That way we know, because quite often we do get the announcement about flag raisings, but either we already have other things scheduled or we do get things scheduled at the same time. So if we have a temporary hold in our calendars, any other meetings and things that might be scheduled, they'll see that. Is that possible for them to do that?
Thanks, Councillor. Through the chair, we can do that. Yep. And just one thing I just want to add here. You'll see November 25th starts a 16-day piece about, I believe it's violence or prevention of violence, and I'm just adding in discussion, as this event just happened about last week, just adding on November 25th, there will also be a specific day noted for the prevention or International Day against the violence against women. So we'll just be adding that in addition to the 16-day one, just so everybody's aware. And one other thing not noted in the report, but that will be part of our tactics in the coming year, is just utilizing the Garden Square screen more in recognizing the dates and months being recognized through this report. And then we'll also add them to your calendars so you're aware. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's all I had, so I'm happy to move the report.
Okay, thank you. We'll have a move by Councillor Bowman. Just to clarify to the clerk, will we need an amendment to the motion to add International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, or take it as read?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do not. It's been noted. It'll just be noted as in the minutes, and it'll be reflected in the attachments that they'll be implemented by Strategic Communications.
Okay, so the motion is fine on the screen, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion moved by Councillor Bowman to approve the staff recommendations. Is anybody opposed? Seeing and hearing none, that carries. 8.2.5 was also in consent. 8.3.1 was removed by Councillor Medeiros. 8.3.2 is a request to discuss conversion therapy by by Mayor Brown.
Councillor Singh, I know our council has been on the record fighting against homophobia and the intolerance and hate that we have tried to move away from as a society. The federal government embarked upon an important initiative to ban conversion therapy. You're born with your sexual orientation, and these voodoo tactics have no place in 2021. And I want to commend Prime Minister Trudeau and his Justice Minister for retabling this legislation with much fanfare yesterday or 2 days ago, and it wasn't able to pass the Senate, the last Parliament. But I think our council should clearly state that we stand on the side of banning this practice and communicate our support to our Brampton MPs. I want it to be very clear that Brampton is a progressive, inclusive community, and I think passing this motion and circulating it to the Brampton MPs would be a gesture of support for this effort.
Okay, and the motion is there for everybody's viewing.
And may I suggest all of council second this, that
Sure.
it's very clear that hate is hate, and we stand for love in Brampton.
Sure, we'll have all the council second. The motion was on the screen, but there it is. Okay, perfect. We have a motion on the floor, seconded by all the council. Is anybody opposed? Seeing and hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to 8.3.3, this was a discussion item added by myself, but I'll put a referral on to refer this to the planning meeting, as it's probably more appropriate to be had there. And that is on Monday. So is anybody opposed to me referring the discussion on development charges to planning on Monday? Seeing and hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on, we have councillor question period. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing and hearing none, is there any questions from the public?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that was moved by myself as well. If I can't move it, then I'll get Councillor Santos. Sorry, I wasn't clear on that. And we will pass it on to Public Works. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. So members, all of the items were into consent. So next we move on to Councillor question period for Public Works today. Do any members have any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to public question period. Mr. Clerk, do we have questions from members of the public with regards to our Public Works section today?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And so with that taken care of, I'll pass the baton to Councillor Santos to lead us in the community services section of today's agenda.
Thank you so much, Councillor Vicente. Over to community services. I don't think we have any business other than the business that I added. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
That is correct.
Thank you so much. So I added this item because I've been hearing a lot of feedback in the community over the past 2 years about Councillor Paul Paleschi, the father of our colleague Michael Paleschi, and everyone that I have been hearing from have been saying how amazing and how wonderful Councillor Paleschi was and what he did for the city of Brampton. And many of them have been asking me, you know, we just named a whole bunch of different things after former councillors, etc. Why have we not done anything for Councillor Paul Paleschi? And in that discussion, I had asked Michael, Councillor Paleschi, our colleague, why that was, and humbly he said, "I'm not sure, but certainly it would be beautiful and wonderful if we considered something for Councillor Paleschi, former councillor in wards 2 and 6." So I just wanted to put this forward and ask staff if we could please take a look at what might be possible for us to honor the late Paul Paleschi and the work that he did for the city of Brampton, the love that he had for the city of Brampton. In speaking to some residents, they had shared with me and obviously with Michael as well, with Councillor Paleschi as well, they had shared with me that Paul Paleschi loved the Loafers Lake area in particular, and had a lot to do with that recreation center. And so if there is any possibility, I would like to prefer that we take a look at renaming Loafers Lake Recreation Center to the Paul Peleschi Recreation Center. And if we could get a report back from staff as to what the possibilities might be moving forward. So that's it. And I see I have other councillors on the board who want to speak. So I move that a report regarding options for the renaming of city, any city assets, but preferably Loafers Lake Recreation Center. City assets in wards 2 and 6, preferably Loafers Lake Recreation Center. Thank you so much.
So, Madam Chair, I think you have a speakers list.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm also chairing. Thanks, Mr. Clerk. Councillor Willens, followed by Mayor Brown and Councillor Fortini.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for bringing this forward. I actually had been in conversations with staff late last term of council regarding this. I think Loafers Lake would be an appropriate place. We did talk briefly about the naming rights and how to get around that as far as sponsorship, but I think staff said that Loafers Lake may not be a big enough facility to make it worthwhile for sponsorship, so I'm okay with the Loafers Lake Rec Center. I don't know if I want to add it to this motion to take away from it, but I also would like staff to look at something for former Councillor John Hutton. I know John was on council, I think started in 1985, I believe, but he was very passionate about the Ward 6 area, and then when of course they amalgamated the wards, but he was very passionate about the Mount Pleasant area as well, so maybe perhaps I can just ask staff to add Councillor Hutton, former Councillor Hutton's name to the list of areas, but maybe perhaps keep it in the Ward 6 area, because I know that's where he spent most of his time as councillor until when they amalgamated the wards. But maybe, I don't know, do I need a second motion, or did staff just take that as direction?
Through you, Madam Chair, my advice would be, just procedurally, is we should be adding this as a new business item for the possible naming of an asset after former Councillor John Hutton, and a similar motion could be then introduced. They are separate and distinct, just because the way it was added at the agenda today was specific to former Councillor Paul Peleschi.
Okay, Peter, well, we don't have to order up reopen the agenda. I can bring it forward to another meeting, future meeting, maybe perhaps at council or to another committee meeting. I'm good with that. Just want to put staff on the radar, that's all. Thanks.
It's Mayor Brown, I believe I'm the next speaker. Is that correct, Councillor Singh?
Correct, yes. Sorry, Ms. Councillor Mayor Brown. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you, Councillor Santos, for this suggestion. I too, as I go to events across the community, continue to hear about the late Councillor Paul Peleschi's incredible contributions to the city and how he really helped build recreation, particularly in the Northwest. And I hear news stories all the time about his legacy. But just a few weeks ago, I was meeting with the field hockey clubs who told me that his efforts supporting field hockey really created that pathway for the sport to grow in Brampton. So I think there is some synergy and some poetic nature to renaming a recreation facility after the former councillor, given his extraordinary legacy of accomplishment in our city. And I would just say to his son, Michael, that you should be very proud of the good name your father holds in our community and the appreciation there is for him. He may not be with us today, but I think he lives in a community that still feels his positive contributions. And I would suggest that all members of council second this motion as well.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Councillor Fortini?
Thank you. Great gesture. And, I did have a conversation with Councillor Paleshi about this going back about 3-4 months ago, and he did say someone was bringing it up, which I'm really pleased. These are former councillors. I've been here over 30 years. They made the city what it is today, and hoping that we could be doing the same in the future, what they have done. We've named Susan Fannell, Sandra Haynes, and I do agree with Councillor Wellens on the Hudson. Maybe we should look at also Elaine Moore and also Gail Miles. These people have been here over 30 years. I know we got the Chris Gibson, so that's already named after someone, but we should look at the other two councillors. So I'll be adding the amendment just to give to Councillor Wellens when it comes back to add 2 more councillors. And thank you, and I'm fully supportive of Mr. Paleshi for what he's done for the city. And thank you, Councillor Juan Santos.
Thank you, Councillor 14. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, and I'm more than happy to support this. I've also, with different community leaders and organizations, heard of the contribution of Paul Paleshi as well, and even in wards 9 and 10. A lot of the older families had a good personal connection with them, so I know they'll be thrilled to hear about this, and more than happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so thank you for the kind comments. I have a motion on the floor, seconded by all of council. Anyone opposed? Thank you so much. That motion carries. And I apologize, Mr. Clerk. I keep forgetting that I'm chairing this section. That being said, do any councillors have any further questions about this section of the agenda, community services? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, any questions from the public?
No questions, Chair Santos.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. Over to Councillor Bowman to chair Legislative Services.
Thank you very much, Councillor Santos. We have no staff presentations, no reports. We do have item 11.3.1 discussion item from Councillor Medeiros, modernizing and updating city bylaws. Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. In talk with staff over the last couple of years, but just more recently with our commissioner, I just think it's part of good best practices and good housekeeping. And I know that there's some bylaws that we sometimes struggle with, considering that our community is changing so rapidly, parking, all different issues. So I just thought that I would put a motion that effectively just asks that staff come back with a plan on how we can look at modernizing our bylaws.
Okay. Councillor Wellens says he's happy to second the motion. I see no speakers to the motion as posted on your screens. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be requested to report to a future committee meeting on a plan to undertake a systematic review of city bylaws, with such report to include terms of reference and a multi-year work plan for the cross-departmental bylaw review initiative, resourcing requirements, including possible use of summer students and or interns, and an estimated timeline for completion. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Thank you very much, Councillor Medeiros. We will move on now to added item 11.3.2, an item added by Councillor Dillon on Provincial Bill 29. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon, are you available?
Councillor Dillon, your mic is muted.
Sorry about that. I was having trouble muting. Recently there's been a bill posed at the provincial legislature, and so the private members bill 29, which is called the Cannabis License Amendment Act 2021, would allow municipalities to have more say on where and how many cannabis licenses can be issued. I think everybody's well aware right now we're seeing an influx of cannabis shops, and in many cases they're very close together. One of the concerns I had way back in January 2019 when we agreed to have private cannabis sales here was that the municipality wouldn't have enough power over the zoning. And so the LCB and cannabis retail shops both fall under the purview of the AGCO. And when it comes to the application and approval process for LCBOs, municipalities are given the opportunity to provide feedback and have a say in where the stores will be located. However, the same rule doesn't apply for cannabis shops. Bill 29 would change this regulation to give municipalities the opportunity to have a say in the location of cannabis stores. And so it's currently past the first reading at the province. And our neighborhood municipalities have also passed motions of support, most notably the City of Toronto, who has about 300 shops right now. And a lot of them are really in one area. And so there's lack of diversity in the types of shops they're seeing. And they have no control over it. And we have 32 shops right now from the last count that I had. And there's about 20 more on the horizon. And I was reading an article yesterday. Drake is opening a shop in Brampton. And one of the things that they said was that since Vaughan and Mississauga don't allow the sale, their first choice was Brampton. So they're going to be serving those areas. So I think that's been the attraction to a lot of people to come to Brampton, because everybody else around here is not around in the 905 around Brampton did not partake in it. And so, Peter, do you have the motion?
Sorry, Councillor. I don't think we received a motion from you. Was it in the...
So I just emailed it. So Jasmine just emailed it right now. Maybe if you can just check. I want to get the motion on the board. And so essentially what the motion is to support this bill that will give cities like Brampton, municipalities like Brampton, more control in where these shops are going to be in the zoning process and where these shops will be located. So if you can get it up on the screen for the information of council.
So through you, Chair Santos, I've just literally received the email now with the motion. So Committee of Council will just take a moment to transfer it over to get it put on the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I believe the Councillor Bowman is chairing at the moment.
Oh, my apologies.
I was about to say I'm not Chair Santos, but that's okay. Why don't we go to Councillor Santos while we get that put up on the screen? She has a question.
Not really a question, Councillor Bowman, more of just comments and support for this. Thank you, Councillor Dillon, for flagging it. I'm wondering if government relations staff have any further information or details with respect to the bill itself. I think we all agree that when the province put the decision on municipalities to have retail or not, one of our big concerns was, how much we can control where the retail stores would be located. And so I certainly support this, and thank you, Councillor Dillon, for bringing forward. Again, I'm wondering if Blaine or someone from GR have any further information about this particular bill.
Through you, Mr. Chair, unless Blaine and his team want to comment, I read the bill this morning, so I can provide some comment if necessary.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the clerk, that would be great.
So through you, Mr. Chair. So Councillor Dillon is correct. It is Bill 29. It is a private member's bill. It was introduced at the end of October. It has received first reading. The bill really is very short, and it accomplishes really one thing. It's proposed to amend the Cannabis License Act, which sets out the regime for licensing cannabis operations within municipalities. And just for context, within the city of Brampton, based on our information this morning, we have 33 operations authorized and presuming in operation, and we have 15 authorization applications in the process in the city of Brampton as of today. The legislation does really three things. The proposed amendment, if it passes, it would allow a municipality to essentially pass a resolution that then would be conveyed to the AGCO in response to a notification that is received about a proposed new cannabis retail establishment to be opened. And that resolution effectively may have a little more weight in terms of the AGCO's decision-making authority. Currently, the legislation says the AGCO will consider public comment within a 15-day commenting period and any comment from a municipality. But the AGCO still is the final decision-making authority with respect to retail cannabis authorizations. This private member's bill would amend the legislation to allow a municipality to pass a resolution, presumably in support or in opposition to a particular retail authorization application. It also allows the municipality to pass a resolution to say, not only on a site-specific basis, but within the entire municipality, how the municipality feels about cannabis retail operations. And it can provide other guidance in its resolution. But it's not I just want to clarify, based on the current wording of the bill, it's not a veto mechanism. The decision-making authority remains with the AGCO.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk, for that very quick briefing. While it doesn't give us the veto power, it does certainly, the province has given a little bit more flexibility for municipalities to have a say, which I totally support and agree with. So thank you, Councillor Dillon, for bringing this forward. I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dillon, we have Councillor Williams on the list to speak. I see you wanted to read the motion out, but we'll go to Councillor Williams and then we'll go back to you.
Oh, thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Dillon, for bringing this motion forward. And I think the clerk, Peter, just kind of answered my question, because I know when I saw the bill, it really doesn't give us what we want. I think, you know, initially when we were having the debates, in saying, we were very clear, or many of us were very clear, that we should be able to determine when, where, and how these stores are opening in our city. We have no controls at all. So, you know, I support this motion because I think it's another step in the direction of where we want to go. But I wonder if in the motion, if we can, as a friendly amendment, just say what we're hoping to accomplish. We should have, as a municipality, more control over where and how many these stores open. And just the final thought, you know, when they're considered as retail, that's the piece that needs to change too, because a retail store can go anywhere. You know, the zoning doesn't give us that authority to say a store like a place like this should only go in a certain area because of a different criteria. So I think it is a good step in the direction where we want to go, but I still think we need more of the authority over our municipality, because we are seeing these stores open, and because there are limited municipalities that did opt in, it's making all roads lead to Brampton for cannabis stores. And so it's not a comfortable position to be in, because there's no end in sight, unfortunately. So yeah, I do support this motion, but I do think we still need to be clear that major change needs to happen to give municipalities more control over how many we want in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. We'll go back to you, Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, thank you. Usually what I do is kind of read it out, and I think just for anybody listening at home and just so everybody's clear. So we'll do that in a minute. And just to respond to Councillor Williams, if you do have an amendment, a particular one, I'm open to it. If you can just make a suggestion. So what we'll do is we'll wait on that. And as well, I actually emailed, so I want to thank NDP, MPP, Merit Stiles of Davenport. We sent this over to her office as well, just to see if everything was okay. If she said, yeah, she said the motion is good as is. We don't really need to amend, but I think if there's a friendly, definitely open to hearing it. If you want to, just to make that suggestion. So can you just kind of scroll down a little bit? Yeah, so I'll quickly read it out. You can scroll, yeah. So, whereas the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario oversees the applications and approvals of all liquor stores and cannabis stores, whereas there are only 32 licensed cannabis stores in Brampton. There are current 32 licensed cannabis stores in Brampton and another 15 applications under review, whereas many of these licensed stores are located within walking distance of schools, daycares, and parks, whereas there are only 9 Liquor Control Board of Ontario LCBO stores in Brampton, whereas the AGCO permits municipalities to submit feedback on potential liquor sales license applications, but does not allow the same for retail cannabis store authorization applications, whereas the lack of municipal control over the approval of these applications has resulted in overcrowding of these shops in some parts of the city, whereas Bill 29, the Cannabis License Amendment Act 2021, which requests that municipalities be given a say in the licensing and approval process of a retail cannabis store, recently passed its first reading at the provincial level, whereas this bill will also align the application process for new cannabis retail licenses to that which is for liquor licenses. Therefore, be resolved that City of Brampton endorse and support Bill 29, the Cannabis License Amendment Act, to enable municipalities to make decisions on retail locations within a municipality, and further, that the mayor send a letter of support to the Office of the Premier of Ontario, the Attorney General of Ontario, the Board of the Alcohol and Gaming Commission, and all local MPPs on behalf of the members of council. So that is the motion. And again, it's just simply asking just for more controls as to where these cannabis shops will be. So again, I'll allow council to have further debate on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dillon. Councillor Palashi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I fully support this motion going forward. I would ask that we send it to all other municipalities that have allowed cannabis retail stores in their municipality. I think we're stronger together. If we're having issues, they're having issues as well. I think it'd be good to send it to AMO as well. My latest issue, and it's been an issue for a little while now, and I was going to bring it up, is the proximity to the restrictions that were put on cannabis locations, the proximity to schools, parks, rec centers. I believe I'd like to confirm that with Peter. But I'd also like to ask the clerk's office, who polices the restrictions on where they can set up the cannabis shops?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So first of all, if a notification comes in, it's up to the municipality to find the notification, and we subscribe to the AGCO website. There is no initiative that proactively the AGCO sends out applications to municipalities, and the same would apply to members of the public as well. So there's not a proactive notification process that's in effect, other than it's resident on their website. Once we get the information, we do share it with our partners across the various departments. We do send it as well, where we know the location, to the ward councillors and to the mayor's office. I should say that the legislation today prohibits the municipality from passing a bylaw to distinguish a cannabis retail establishment from any other kind of use. So as of right, they're permitted in, as I understand, retail zones within the municipality. There is a requirement under the legislation that I believe it must be further than 150 meters from a school as defined under the Education Act. The work that we do in the city when we receive a notification is we do some mapping with our partners in planning in terms of schools, public facilities, places of worship, parks, group homes that may be within a radius of the proposed location. So we share that with departments. But in the end, if we do provide comment back to the AGCO, it's comment that is considered by the AGCO, as I mentioned earlier, in making their final decision. And they make their decisions, as they say on their website and in the legislation, in the greater public interest.
Thanks, Peter. Can you double check or can you confirm that I knew schools were on it and I wasn't sure about the distance, but I thought that parks or playgrounds and rec centers were also a part of the restrictions, the distance.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will confirm that, but as I understand the legislation as it exists today, it does say they must be located with at least 150 meters from a school as defined by the Education Act. There's no mention of public spaces or other open spaces.
Okay, and within the distance from the school, is that as the crow flies, or is it driving distance?
I believe it's as the crow flies, through you, Mr. Chair, as we do sort of radius mapping based on the property boundaries of the proposed location.
Okay, and so I guess it that's one of my issues too, is that even though it's outside of the, sorry, Peter, you said 150 meters?
That's correct.
And I believe this council requested when we had first opted in, we requested the government to look at 300 meters, I believe. But my issue is, even though it's outside of that 150 meters from a school, you get a lot of the students from the school during lunchtime going to the nearest plaza to either hang out, buy lunch, or kind of do whatever. And that's outside of that nearest plaza is probably outside of the 150 meters. So then they're right there, all group of kids hanging out in front of a cannabis store. And I think that's maybe one of those unforeseen things that, you know, we didn't identify. Well, we certainly requested that it be a greater distance, but on top of that is limiting the amount of licensing, which is not in our power, but I think what should be in our power, because I was expecting that, and I still expect that eventually, you know, competition will dictate who stays and who goes, but I guess that's not happening fast enough for us. So I fully support more ability for the municipalities, the ones that actually deal with the start to finish issues that a cannabis licensing act brings to municipalities, rather than the province. Because we are definitely more hands-on than they'll ever know. So I fully support this. Thank you, Councillor Dillon, for bringing this forward. And I ask for you to support the amendments there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Paleshi. Councillor Dillon, will you support those friendly amendments?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I see no other speakers. So we have a motion on the board that's been discussed, moved by Councillor Dillon. Is there anybody opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much, Councillor Dillon.
I think Councillor Vicente asked for a recorded vote.
Oh, okay. Just in the nick of time. I will hand it over to you, Mr. Clerk, for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All members in favor of the motion as on the screen, as amended. Councillor Santos.
Yes.
Councillor Vicente.
Yes.
Councillor Willens.
Yeah.
Councillor Paleshi.
Yes.
Councillor Bowman.
Yes.
Councillor Medeiros.
Yes.
Councillor Williams.
Yes.
Councillor Fortini,
Yes.
thank you. Councillor Singh,
Yes.
Councillor Dillon,
Yes.
Mayor Brown. That was a yes from Mayor Brown. The motion carries unanimously 11-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. We now move on to 11.4. We have no correspondence. 11.5, Councillor question period. Do any members have any questions regarding the legislative services section for today? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, do we have any questions from the public for public question period?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thanks very much, Mr. Clerk. With that, we finish off legislative services, and I will hand the chair over to Councillor Medeiros for economic development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. I do believe our first item is Councillor Williams. I think you held the report 12.2.1 FTI 2021 year-end review and 2022 strategies. Over to you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, I just had a couple of questions. I read over the report. It's really exciting. We're on a great track to seeing business retention, but also expansion in a number of different sectors, and these FDI missions to various places around the world, even though most of them are virtual, they are yielding some really amazing returns. I just wonder if to the staff, I guess, Claire, if you're there, I know when we first started talking about going to Nigeria, you know, initially we saw that there were some big things happening in that part of the world. They were working on passing the new Africa Free Trade Processing Zone bill in 2019, and so that really just ignited the desire to see us get ahead of it and show that Brampton is open for business and really interested in the potential spin-offs that the free trade agreement across that huge continent could bring for Brampton. We know many residents do have, you know, strong ties with Africa and the Caribbean. I think from that we ended up going to Nigeria on 2 missions to see the potential, and that really excited many entrepreneurs and businesses. So I'm just wondering, from that area in particular, do we have an idea of what the return ROI, or what the, you know, the return on investment, I guess, in those missions to Africa that was at no cost to taxpayers, because they really wanted us to be there, so we were able to get there. But can you speak to some of the spin-off, what's happened out of those missions and this relationship, and even having Erica come on board to help further the conversations?
So through the chair, it's Richard. If I could provide a comment before Claire. I think what's really incredible here is that Claire's team has done something that is probably very, very unique in terms of probably North America and Canada, in the sense of virtual FDI missions. So her team has basically, we've been to Japan, we've been to Germany, we've been to Nigeria, we've been to the US with no jet lag. But her team has done some incredible work, and I just want to recognize that before Claire speaks to some of the ROIs. It is phenomenal. Like, we're leading North America as from what I understand in terms of you know, virtual missions. When COVID hit, we didn't you know, miss a beat, and we continued on with the virtual side of things. So Claire, I'll turn it over to you, and thank you for you and your team.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the comments very much, and you're quite right. We are one of the only municipalities in the country doing virtual missions, and part of those missions, we have focused on Nigeria and the Caribbean as mandated. And as Councillor mentioned, we have Erica Henry Jackman on our team, who has done an incredible job following up on the missions to Africa that were done in person. And we actually just finished a mission, a virtual mission to Nigeria that Erica will come to council in January to share the results and the agenda with members of council. Councillor Williams, to respond to your question, we have seen some success in terms of businesses going into our pipeline, our investment attraction pipeline. There are 15 active files and leads in the pipeline that were sourced from Nigeria, from the missions that you and the mayor participated in. We have seen some investments that have landed from Africa into the city. Some examples would be Mobi Systems. They're an investment from South Africa that went to our innovation district, to one of the innovation district partners that are now actually looking for their own real estate to move into. So that's a great success. We also have TRIPS, which is one of the darlings of the startup world in Nigeria. They have been acquiring across Africa and have now set up their North American headquarters in Brampton. And that is a huge success for us as well. We have 2 startups going through the startup visa program to land at Beehive. As soon as they are able to travel and come into Canada, they will be working from Beehive. And as well as investment attraction, Erica has been working on business retention and expansion, as you mentioned. She has been working with 2 Nigerian businesses in the city, helping them expand their presence in the city already. There is absolutely a potential for the city in these markets, largely untapped. Other cities are not necessarily focusing on these markets, partly because of the diaspora and the investment from these countries into their jurisdictions. Brampton certainly has a very active African diaspora, and that really gives us a great position to go into Africa and to be able to talk about those messages. So we will continue the work to generate awareness. We will certainly continue the work with our virtual missions into next year. We're not sure that at this point there will be in-person mission to Africa next year. The plan is certainly virtual at this point. And we have great partners like Sunil from the Founders Institute. He has brought us many leads, dozens, I would even say, from Africa. He's very passionate about African startups, and he has found a partner in Brampton, and he has really applauded us for that. So I hope that answers your question in terms of the pipeline, the ROI, and certainly the potential from Africa and specifically Nigeria.
Thank you, Claire. It's phenomenal to me because there was little to no investment in engaging in the beginning of starting a relationship with Nigeria, but it's yielded so much. And I look at some of the other FDIs. You went to Germany, and like Germany has businesses here, and we've seen the benefits to those relationships with these countries and the businesses for years, and now we're working at retention and expansion. So the fact that we are starting this, it means that the future of these businesses is just growth, and it's going to be huge for our economy in Brampton as well. So when we look at the I noticed there's a piece about the partnership with Toronto Global. Is Nigeria and the Caribbean, or Africa and the Caribbean, on Toronto Global's radar?
At this point, no, it's not. It's not one of their target markets. They focus on the US, Europe, the UK, Japan, India, but not Africa. And that is one of the benefits of us working there. It is Brampton alone and not the whole Toronto region, if I can put it that way.
Wow. And Brampton's own, Brampton's grown, and I think commend this council and the work that you're doing in economic development and doing this. And it's really changing the narrative around African Caribbean continents. We need to change that narrative and see that, you know, people like Sunil and who are excited about the growth, because there's so much potential there that will have a huge benefit to our city. So, you know, there's little to no investment on going there, but it's been yielding some huge returns. And I think it just goes to show with, you know, our commitment to engaging these markets, but also, you know, the diaspora and the benefits of engaging a community that's been here for a long time, a part of the city, paying taxes, but also realizing that economic relationships that many people in the city have with their countries of origin. So I just wanted to touch on that. I thought it was phenomenal. I'm really excited to see that the list of you know, staff-led investment activities. The Caribbean, Nigeria is on that list, as well as USA, Japan, UK, Ireland. I think we are in such a great spot to have the Caribbean and Nigerian markets in there, because with that new trade, with that new trade zone agreement that is out of Nigeria, people are realizing it's such a huge powerhouse and a connector to all over the world. So I think this is pretty awesome. Brampton, we are in such a good spot. We took chances. We are doing things differently than other municipalities, and look at what we're yielding as a result. So I just wanted to bring those things up. Thank you again. I look forward to the report that's coming in the new year that will speak to more about the virtual missions to Nigeria and Africa, and all the other great things that are happening out of our other FDI missions. Thank you so much, Claire and Richard.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any further speakers. I do have a motion moved by Councillor Williams to approve the report. Is there anyone opposed? I see none. Motion carries. No other new business, correspondence. Councillor, question period. Is there any questions from today's economic development agenda? I see none. Public question period. City Clerk, are there any questions from the public?
No questions, Mr. Chair, for this section or generally under section 14.
Okay, thank you. So we now go into closed session. So I'm at the will of
Mr.
committee. Yes.
Sorry, my apologies. We still have item 13.1, referred matters list for fourth quarter.
My apologies. Okay. Are there any questions regarding the referred matters list? I see none. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Vicente that the referred matters list for fourth quarter 2021 to the Committee of Council meeting December 1st be received. Anyone opposed? I see none. So members of committee, it's now 12:30. Would you like a break before we go into in camera, or would members want to go straight through?
Let's go straight through. My questions are real brief, so.
Yeah, if we can finish it, why not knock it out? Thank you, I agree.
Sounds good. City Clerk, how much time you need?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll need at least probably 10 minutes, but before we do that, we have to take a vote to move into closed session.
Yeah, my apologies. So can I get a motion moved by Councillor Bowman to move into closed session? Is anyone opposed? I see none. Motion carries. So it's 12:33. Let's come back at 12:45 in camera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This meeting of Committee of Council is now recessed to reconvene in closed session at 12:45. Members of committee, you'll have your team's invite to join for that session, and members of the public, you can stay to wait till committee reconvenes in public session and reports out on its closed session business and completes its meeting business for today's meeting. Members of staff, you can wait on the WebEx session as well until committee reconvenes after closed. Thank you. Chair Medeiros, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Singh, Councillor Williams, Councillor Willens, So, Mr. Chair, it is 1 o'clock. You do have a quorum present. You can proceed.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. So we do have, we are now coming out and we have two motions. We go to the first motion.
So through you, Mr. Chair, yes, the first motion is in regard to item 15.1, and this is proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, and a plan, position, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. This item was considered in closed session, information was received, and direction was given, including direction that a motion be considered in public, which is on the screen.
Yeah, and I believe it was moved by Councillor Bowman. Is there anyone opposed? I see none. Motion carries.
In regards to item 15.2, through you, Mr. Chair, to members of committee, this item was approved as part of the consent motion, and in so doing, direction was deemed to be given, including direction that was set out in the report, including direction that a public motion be considered in public session, and that motion is going to be on the screen in a moment, and it does require a mover.
Okay, I will move by Councillor Santos as the Chair of Community Services. Is there anyone opposed? I see none. Motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, item 15.3, which is an open meeting exception under section 239(2)(f), I, and K of the Municipal Act, advice that's subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. This item was considered in closed session. Information was received and direction was given to staff. That concludes closed session, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you very much. And I believe then we're now at adjournment. So our next meeting is scheduled for January 19th at 9:30 a.m. So I have a motion moved by Councilor Fortini to adjourn today's meeting. Is there anyone opposed? I see none. And the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of committee. This meeting is now adjourned. We're just going to wait for the live stream to